Welcome everyone to the FATED Connections Path of Exile community podcast. Today, for the first time in 3 weeks, it's been a lot of fun. We've been playing the league start. I had the opportunity to meet the makers of the game in Cologne. They were here. I visited Gamescom. I played the Druid and built a new computer for gaming and all that stuff just for you, just for the content. But sadly, we didn't get to do a podcast in a while. But we're back and ready to talk about Trial of the Ancestors with our lovely co-host Balor Mage, as always. How have you been, Balor?
Fantastic. I dropped a full mage blood on the floor, which
What?
is less exciting than seeing the GGG people in person, but only like a little bit.
All right. And before we go into the juicy deets, let's get our guests on stage. We got Tatiantel 2, our HCSSF Ruthless Siberian God Gamer. Welcome. How are you doing, guys? Well,
hello,
welcome.
everyone. Yeah. I'm doing not that good. I never had mage bloods in my life, so just sitting here in Ruthless, being sad.
Oh, yeah, I can relate. And last but not least, we're joined by a Talkative Tri, the new kid on the PoE video essay block, as I like to refer to him. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing very well. Also not as well as Balor. I don't think I've made more than 50 div in a league, let alone a mage blood or a headhunter. So one day maybe I'll get a natural drop, but I don't think I'll be getting it anytime soon.
We can fix that.
I am in trade league. I'm not a Ruthless enjoyer just yet.
We can fix that.
Oh, that puts you a lot closer to the mage blood.
It really does. It really is. Has there been a mage blood in Ruthless since it released?
I'm sure.
Yeah, that actually was. Yeah,
there was. Okay, only one though.
Last league in HCSSF Ruthless, the guy got mage blood from Reliquary on third day, and there was a race also going on in Ruthless for the 2 Ubers. But this guy got a 2 Flask mage bloods, and he never divined it to 4 Flask, and I think he never equipped it in the end. Sad story.
Wow, that's actually shocking.
Wow.
Wait, are divines just that rare, or are you just like? I mean, would you divine a 2 Flask mage blood if you had one?
Well, I mean, I got one divine so far, playing 3 weeks of Ruthless non-stop, and it was pretty lucky drop. So I guess it's not really accessible there.
Ah, I see.
Such a different world. Ruthless.
Yeah, I've only tried a little
it.
bit of Ruthless, but I'm impressed that you're going for it this league. You're really hard on it. If maybe we want to start with that. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, some people may have seen the clip, but you got a 6-link brass dome in Ruthless. Like, how did you put that together? Right? That. I mean,
yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. I mean, especially this league. So I never could imagine. I already played Ruthless for the 3rd league in a row because it was released 3 leagues ago. And this league, kind of like a league mechanic, right? We're going to be talking about Tota. And they didn't really rebalance rewards from the end of the tournament for Ruthless. So rewards from each round is like super crap, like transmute orbs and like blue items. But in the end, you get actually like good omens, right? And stuff like that. So managed to get the Treasure Treasure Omen, the Fated Connections Omen, speaking of our podcast, and the 6 Jeweler Omen. I don't know, did we have the prophecy like this before? I don't remember the name. Well, basically, I just clicked 3 orbs and I got the 6-link, what's it called? Bresno. And I also got like a roll maximum plus 5 max stress. So kind of like being immortal now and enjoying that. Only can die to kills damage.
Full Ruthless, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's not even Ruthless anymore. You transcend it.
Yeah, you're now just playing the regular league. that's how that.
Yeah, I mean, still not
sounds.
total skills though. That's like the biggest gap between the 2 game modes.
Yeah.
And you're doing it hardcore SSF, right? So no trade at all. It's all by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy SSF since they released SSF. I've been playing SSF only. Yeah, because I don't know. Don't I can force myself playing trades, honestly, especially if I go for Ruthless. Like, why would I go trades? But I know people enjoying that, like making sick characters actually in Ruthless softcore trades. I remember one guy was playing totems, and he made like the best totem character I never had such totem character basically, and he killed like almost 5 out of 7 Ubers as well on that.
As someone who's been delving into the older Path of Exile videos, like from 2011, 2012, it's shocking how similar the two look. Ruthless and old PoE. It really brings you back. I would love to put more time into Ruthless and try it out. I've only gone to, I think, Merveil in Ruthless before, but it was quite the experience. When I dropped my first rare chest, I was so happy. It was just beautiful. It was a great moment. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting experience.
It's probably the most fun part of the Ruthless is the campaign itself. Then when you get to Atlas, it's kind of like grindy to get your map
Yeah.
sustain. So yeah,
I
can recommend to at least complete the
imagine.
campaign.
I can't imagine even having the time to do Ruthless. I play this game for a living, and I don't imagine where you get the time to do Ruthless. Like, I don't get it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, for me, it kind of works. So I never get burned out on PvE anymore. Like, I don't know. Do you guys play it nonstop? Because I do. Like, I never stopped playing PvE for 3 years already. Like, every day, pretty much I play. And yeah, so definitely playing SSF, HC, and now Ruthless helps so much.
Yeah.
There's just so many goals I always have, especially in Ruthless. Like, I know exactly what I want to do now. And I'm pretty sure if I played softcore trades, I could come up with some fun stuff, like clearing simulacrums, I don't know, like doing 2000s ranked Tota until I get Mage Blood, right? Stuff like that. But it would be the end to that, for me anyway, at some point. And there's like infinite goals for me.
Right? That's what I was going to pop in and say. It all depends on what your goals are in a game, especially PoE, because it's so self-defining. For me, for example, I'm not trying to get a Mage Blood or anything. Just in Trade League, I just want to get all 40 challenges by the end of the league. That's essentially it. Have some fun, kill the bosses, get all the challenges done. But, you know, in Ruthless, you can, like Tatiana said, so many goals. Crazy.
I'd say that maybe in Ruthless it's easier to make yourself goals. I think it's crucial for the motivation that you set yourself goals, but in softcore trade it can happen that you get overwhelmed with the possibilities because you could do anything, right? But then when you're in Ruthless, it's kind of the path lays itself out in a clearer way. You have like fewer options, I would assume.
Doesn't branch as much.
That's just how I look at it.
Especially in hardcore solo self-found Ruthless.
Yeah, so by the way, especially in Ruthless, they did a really interesting rebalance thing where they made it so that every league mechanic only drops like the rewards from that league mechanic. So for example, if I want to get Catalyst, I need to farm Meta more specifically. I cannot get it from Heist, for example. So it's, yeah, you kind of have to like always do all these things at the same time.
I like that. I think
also
that's
like
the
that.
proper
That should be
design.
That should be in the game. Like, it should be the thing.
It's probably gonna be in P2.
It's in the game in a light way. I mean, they did return the league specific rewards and keep them exclusive to the leagues for the most part. I mean, you can't get 20 Val gems outside of like doing them yourself in the temple. And now, of course, in the league mechanic we get them again. But
they always do that.
Stygian belts. Stygian belts is an example that they did well. You can only get them from doing Abyss, right?
True.
I haven't seen them anywhere else recently. But yeah, I mean, I myself haven't done a lot of Ruthless. I wish I could do it. Maybe I'll do it now with the new computer. I feel like I'm a little bit more hardcore viable again.
Oh, congratulations!
Previously I did scratch the performance limits of my old system, but now, I mean, still, obviously with PoE you can always get to the limits of every system, but like I don't feel like I'm particularly dying a lot to performance problems now. It's more my own decisions again.
That's something to just briefly touch on. How are you guys performing this league? Did your performance drop and plummet like a lot of other people? Mine hasn't dropped in terms of FPS, but now everything looks very fuzzy. You know, dynamic resolution kicks in way more frequently for me. So the game looks fuzzier than before, especially in juiced maps. Like it literally just turns into a blur. I don't know if is that happening with any of your systems or.
I'm curious what Balor says to this, because Balor is the one of us who like rushes the super juiced content the
Okay.
most, and he's probably spent a fair amount of time in Delirious maps by now.
Okay.
It is very juiced. At the beginning of the league, I had performance problems, all the ones that other people had, and also load time problems.
I didn't
by
have
now,
those.
all fixed. By now,
Those look
everything's
wild.
fine.
Okay. Nice.
So I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know why it took so long to fix, but it's fixed now. So
Cool. So absolutely nothing off with performance compared to the previous league.
it seemed fine.
I caved this league for the first time after like 3 leagues of softcore trade, or 4 even. For the first time, I installed Awakened PoE trade.
Oh,
And
my.
either it's placebo or not, but when Awakened PoE trade is running in the background, I'm getting weird stutters.
Yeah.
Like I've launched it like 3 times so far and instantly closed it after price checking again. Because my PC can't handle it. And which is weird because it's the new dedicated gaming system and the only thing it's running is PoE, right? But
Oh,
There
that
are
must
other
be
options. You don't have to use that one.
okay. Yeah, I'll have to research. I don't know about those. But yeah, it's the first time I installed it and I actually
All in your
really like
head.
the quality of life. It's so well made, right?
Just hold it all in your head. Just like I don't use POB. I think that's probably controversial here.
Oh,
Does everybody
yeah.
here use
I-
Path of Building? I
Okay.
refuse.
I use Path of Building
You do? Oh,
when
well.
it's time to make Path of Buildings for other people.
Okay.
That's the reason I use them. I don't actually make my builds with Path of Building. I
Oh,
usually
that's
just have an
curious.
idea in my head,
Yeah,
and then I go, I'm sure that'll work out, and then I'll just make the character.
that's some sheer
That's it.
confidence right there.
No, it shouldn't be. I just
You
wanna
have
point
the
out, it's not
intelligence
that
too.
I'm
You
that
got it all
good.
in your head.
It's not that I'm that good that I can just think of a build and it'll work. No, half of my builds fail miserably and are terrible.
I feel you.
but
That
that's
happened
how
this
I
league.
do it.
That unfortunately happened to me this league. It was pretty bad. Epic failure with my first build.
That's a great segue. What was your first build? Because we need the background from everyone. What are you playing this league?
Yeah, 100%. So I really wanted to try out the new Chieftain, right? As with many people, oh, the new shiny ascendancies. Let's play Guardian, let's play Chieftain. And let's go with a melee skill too, because you like to punish yourself, right? I love melee, even though it's pretty rough in Path of Exile right now, except for Bone Shatter. Played Frostblade's Trickster last league. That's pseudo melee. It's not really melee, but it felt pretty good.
I thought you
So-
were just going to say I played Frostblade Chieftain. And I
Oh
was about
gosh, no!
I was
But
just like,
somebody in
"Wow."
my Discord is playing Frostblade's Chieftain at somehow.
No.
And they like it. I
This
know.
league.
Yeah, this league.
Please,
I mean,
no.
And I
That
think
was
they've progressed to
amazing.
Reds too. A lot of people haven't like pushed Ubers or anything or Pinnacles with it, but yeah, I get it. I didn't either with my Infernal Blow sword-based Chieftain. It was just so bad. As soon as I hit Reds, it was disastrous. I slogged through everything. Tried to edit my build looking at someone's PoE.ninja. Missed a crucial modifier on one of their weapons. Bricked my build. Said, all right, I'm swapping to Bone Shatter. So I went Bone Shatter for the Juggernaut, and now I'm having a much better league.
Yep.
That's the story.
Yeah, some may say that's the only melee build in the game right now.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It's definitely very different to many other builds that I've played in the past too, with the ramping damage, especially on bosses. You need to get a lot of uptime hitting those bosses, and you need to know which abilities you can tank and which ones you actually have to dodge out of the way. That's what I'm finding out. I just got my Uber Elder Void Stone yesterday. I failed my first fragment set. I was so sad with, I think it was just 10% on Shaper. With one portal left, I died. It was really rough. People are probably laughing at me right now. But finally got it. I've had to learn all the abilities I had to dodge and which ones I could just tank through. It's very interesting. So,
But that's what I like about playing that style, is that it teaches you those things. I did my first Uber Elder kill I did on a 200k DPS Frostblades build.
oh my gosh. That's wild. How long ago was that? When was that?
It must have been like 2017 or 2018. 2018 probably. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It
It's
took me
thrilling.
like 15 attempts to get it down the first time.
Exactly. It's a really feel good moment, especially people don't like the fragment costs associated with bosses, but when you actually take them down, It feels so much better. Plus, every time I face a boss when I'm not running, super powerful build, just starting the league, don't have great gear or anything, I'm always sweating and shaking when I'm fighting these bosses. Even if I know, like Maven, I'm very good at Maven. Still, like I shake a little bit because it takes very long. Got to stay focused. It's a really good feeling. I like it in PoE. You don't get it while mapping that often. Mapping's pretty chill.
Well, I mean, when you make a big upgrade and you notice like a big difference with how the build performs during mapping, then that also has like
Oh,
a similar
100%.
reward
I
to it.
meant you don't get the shaky, sweaty, like, oh, this is an intense fight while mapping. Usually I'm just blasting
maybe
through
1 in 20 maps, like
Right.
a super rippy combination or something.
I just don't even get that feeling at all because I'm in softcore. I remember it from when I played hardcore.
Oh, I still get it in softcore.
Long time.
But don't you have those situations where you just really don't want to die? Like you only have like one portal left, or there's something like loot-wise on the line, or you like are on a high level and you really don't want to lose the experience?
No.
Okay, no, fair enough.
And if you die,
Rationalize that away.
Yeah.
There's other things to pay attention to. I can see that, especially when you're streaming anyway, right? There's other things to be excited about.
Yeah, like I get excited a lot, but I don't get that like rush of like, oh my god, is this gonna work? I'm so nervous about this failing. Like I remember that from hardcore. It's the one thing that I don't get in softcore.
Interesting.
It's fine, but
fair. Tati, what build did you start? Was it Stormburst Totems?
No, big good guess. Yeah, like Tri was talking about. I only got my 4th Void Stone yesterday. I'm like, what is Void Stone, Steven? What is that? Yeah, I'm not even close, man.
Right. Where are you?
Yeah.
In your maps? About 3 weeks in.
Well, actually, to be fair, yeah, I finished all the non-unique maps already last stream. That was like 2 days ago. So pretty close actually to like attempting Ether, but again, like doing Ether without travel skills and Ruthless, where like those meatballs can just suck you in.
Right.
That's pretty. Like my height rate will be close to 200. I'm pretty sure. Like I get this feeling you were talking about, fighting bosses, almost on every campaign boss, man. I really like this feeling.
Maybe I should try Ruthless out then.
Yeah.
I mean,
and hardcore. But yeah, so I started the league like I always do with the totem builds, and so, I mean that was pretty good. I got to like 2 maps. I got to level 76, and that was a tier 2 stagnation map. By the way, maps this league, especially white maps, they're pretty wild. There's like a bunch of maps where the bosses are actually hard. For example, stagnation. There's Falcon River. There is a Cold River too, like Slash Naris.
Yep. Yeah.
Last league, Lava Lake was a tier 1, right?
Yeah, I guess. Even though, I mean, Lava Lake is kind of good for Ruthless because, like, there is a bunch of extra loot there from extra monsters. That would be nice to have it again.
But I saw those rare monsters in the boss fight are gonna be a buzzkill in Ruthless.
Yeah. Well, can be fine if you're over level, like always. You're doing hardcore. And there was an incident on this stagnation map. I got I was like running around in the arena. My totems were doing damage to the boss. I'm like saying, wait, where is the meteor? And then 2 seconds after, I get meteored to 1 shot from full health to 0. Boom, dead to the Void Lake. By the way, if you die in hardcore Ruthless, you cannot play this character ever.
Yeah, it doesn't go to like softcore Ruthless. You like completely lose the character. You can't play it anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
That's it's kind of not feel because there's like I wanted to try some new Atlas keystones before actually allocating them, but I had no characters on softcore standard Ruthless because they're all dead in Void Lake. So yeah. And so that was like 2 days, right? I get to level 76, and everybody were going crazy over Guardian. Like someone in chat here on podcast already said, everybody played Guardian and Ruthless, and this is actually the case. 7 people out of top 10 is Guardian, and so there was a lot of changes to Ruthless this lake, right? They kind of like giga nerfs all the ascendancies, except for the 2, Chieftain and Guardian, that was reworked for the whole game. And yeah, Guardian is exactly the same as a non-Ruthless, and just the minion that you get from first ascendancy literally shreds everything. So I mean, I rerolled into that, and now I'm doing
Does
really
it do
good.
the same as it does for us in trade?
Yeah. Guardian Sense is exactly the same.
That's insane. That thing is like super strong while leveling.
Yeah, I mean, it actually carries me even through like mid red tier maps. You also get the same elemental relics with level 27 auras. I mean, the
Wow.
only change is like you get 10 less attack and block, attack and spell block. That's it.
All right. That
That's-
seems
So
very
yeah, I
strong.
just summoned Guardian. People call it my boss. Like I'm summoning my boss. He kind of like I kind of follow him in my maps. He heals everyone with Righteous Fire Aura.
Yeah.
Works super well. So if anybody wanted to try easy version of hard mode of Ruthless, right? Like this league is definitely the play because it will get nerfed for sure next league, and you can just you need to somehow get to Act 3 Labyrinth, and then you ascend Guardian. You have never have issues anymore.
Okay, I'll try that out for sure. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't make any further adjustments to it, seeing that they did make adjustments to like pretty much every single ascendancy other than Chieftain.
Yeah, I think what happened is that last league they said they already prepared all the Ruthless Ascendancy changes, but they didn't want to actually put it in the game because they felt like they need to change something for the non-Ruthless as well, so the community would feel like okay about it. So yeah, I think they changed the ascendancies last league, but then they changed 2 ascendancies this league, and they were like, "Oh wait, we don't have time to rebel them for Ruthless. Whatever, just put it to the game." Well, it doesn't feel too great. That's like every play Guardian, and I do this too now. I actually usually try to play off meta totems, something like that. It just was like everybody around, like, wow, I just like one shot this with my Guardian and one shot that in my Guardian. Like Kriparian plays Guardian, puts these videos on YouTube. Had to go for it too.
Is anyone playing Chieftain in Ruthless? I know because that's very strong defensively, right? There's no changes from regular PoE.
Poor people playing Chieftain. Well, you get 0 damage from this Ascendancy, so because you don't really have support gems in Ruthless, you're like you're Giga tank,
doing
but
nothing.
you don't really move.
Right.
Was that again, Beller?
Did you say 4 people?
No, I said poor. I mean,
Oh, poor people. I heard 4 and was like, that's a very low number.
No, that's very realistic.
Probably.
For Ruthless anyway. No, what did I want to say? I was eyeing Chieftain, right? Like I was thinking Chieftain. Like when I heard they're reworking it, I was like looking, maybe I'll play Chieftain, test out the new Chieftain. And I looked at good Chieftain builds from last league, and I decided I want to do a fire conversion reap build. But then eventually, like, looked at Chieftain, I was like, this doesn't do anything for my build.
Yeah.
I might, like, if I don't get damage from this ascendancy, I might as well go Juggernaut. And then I went Juggernaut. And Juggernaut is a no damage ascendancy for the most part, but you get so much regen from the life regen passive that you can actually put on Righteous Fire just for the 40% more spell damage. So it is a little bit of a damage ascendancy right there. And yeah, my initial enthusiasm and euphoric reaction to the build has died down a little bit as I'm like hard stuck between 1 and 2 million DPS. Because like every single conceivable upgrade at this point is like 20 divines or more, because it overlaps with like other fire damage dealing builds and all that. Not because Reap fire conversion is so popular, but it's just a popular archetype to convert physical to fire. So I'm like at this junction where I need to save up a little bit of money to get the build to the next level, and I have like 2 avenues. Like either I go like all incoming damage converted to fire, right? And I get super tanky and I remain in this like really wonky below 5 million DPS sort of damage setup. Or what I was thinking is I go out of Avatar of Fire and I craft myself some godlike spellcaster gloves with the remaining conversion, and then I get a Hatred Watcher's Eye and you get Fizz's Extra Cold and like get some other Fizz's Extra, maybe Unholy Might from somewhere, and then I could get somewhere DPS wise, but I'm not sure. Might just keep it tanky, have like a solid all-round character, and then make myself some boss killer instead of trying to put all this burden onto one character. But
this isn't the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like as a streamer, people like that if you play a different character, right? They like to see you tackle the game in a different way than what you're used to. They want to see
Yeah.
you go out of your comfort zone. Speaking of which, Balor, have you left your lightning arrow comfort zone?
I mean, I went into Poison SRS again and played that for like a week and a half.
Oh, lovely.
It went fantastic. I made upgrades, tattooed the whole tree, made more content on that, and then went back to Lightning Arrow. And now I'm in a full MF setup in what might be the most disgusting gear I've ever worn.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Did you do the SRS for Sanctum strictly?
No, I did it because tattoos changed the build too much, and I needed to experience it instead of just make it up on Path of Building, so that I could pass that information on.
So
that was the main reason I did it, is because tattoos changed the build so much that I needed to do that to make the content.
How many tattoos did you have?
Oh, it's full tattoos. There isn't a single stat node left. Like it's full tattoos.
But there's a maximum of 50, right? I guess you don't.
But I don't have 50 total stat
Travel nodes,
nodes. So, full.
Stat-wise, what are you getting out of the tattoos in the build? I'm supposing mana reservation efficiency mostly?
Nah, we didn't really need that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. What is the value stuff for the build and Path of Building?
A lot of life, a lot of energy shield recovery rate to deal with mana,
right?
Aura effect, because you can pump aura effect up to whatever the next breakpoint is really easily.
Right, and
we're like, oh, I'm 10 away from a breakpoint.
Damage for you.
Yeah, so it's essentially its own aura bot, but only for what would apply to minions. So it's not nearly as many auras, but that's where a large portion of the damage come from, is auras. So pumping up the aura is quite good, and then getting an absolute butt ton of suppress from the Nightmare Jewel, because you can now change all of the nodes into all res nodes, and so like everything became a lot easier and a lot cheaper and a lot better because of tattoos. But then I had to use a Supreme Ostentation so that I didn't need the res, and then that changed what shield you should wear. And so like there were too many changes for me to just be like, I'm going to do it in Path of Building and then just tell everyone this is good. That didn't feel like enough when everyone was like continually asking me, what do I do with tattoos this league? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm a Deadeye. And I was just like,
no, I get it.
Too many questions. I have to go make the build and figure out what is the thing to do, so that I can pass that on.
That sounds so sophisticated. I just get tattoos from tournaments and then just randomly equip them. Just a jumble of stuff on the tree. I got 8% armor here, 2% spell suppression here. I'm just equipping whatever I think is cool, whatever I think will help my build out a little bit. Is that something that a lot of people are doing in this league, like literally building entire characters solely around tattoos, Balor? Or because I haven't looked at many different builds this league, but are people using that cap
at the
of 50?
top end of min-maxing? It's got to be like that, right? That you plan.
I don't think so, because it depends on what your main stat is and what kind of build you are. Like I tried to build. In theory, I don't have infinite money, but in theory, I know in softcore trade how to make enough money to do anything. So I have effectively infinite money.
Yeah.
So I spent 2.5 hours in Path of Building trying to do my Magic Find Deadeye in full tattoos with the Supreme Ostentation on. And it's just not better.
Yeah.
Dex is too good of a stat, and what it costs you to make up for losing 250, 300 Dex isn't made up for by the tattoos. And I suspect you'll have the same problem with strength. So a bigger issue, most of the builds that I've looked at, if you want to do like full tattoos everywhere, you almost need to be a class that's mostly int, but also doesn't need a buttload of energy shield or mana.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because then you can just get rid of the entire tree. Everyone's benefiting from like, oh, I'll put a few of these tattoos here and a few of those tattoos there. But like, and tattoos are great for that. I'm still using them. I'm going to use them on every character. But to cover the entire tree needs like a specific kind of character where you just don't care. Like the amount of stats you're getting just don't matter.
I wonder if there's someone out there bricking their build doing exactly that. Just like, oh, I want to use all tattoos on all my attribute nodes, and doesn't
And they spend a
realize
few
how
hundred chaos
valuable.
doing it to have a worse build.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
For sure there are.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, there's people who I definitely talked to people who were like, I'm gonna pick this 30 strength node over here so that I can put 3 tattoos on these 3 little 10 strength nodes. Just that I still cover my requirements. There's the new amulet, the replica Dragonfang's Flight, that gives you specifically to 1 skill, 3 skill levels, but it also lowers the requirements of gems and attributes.
That's a good point.
Supreme Ostentation. That's what Poison SRS was using to do it.
Oh yeah, that's the one where you don't have any requirements at all for your gems and items, right?
Yeah, that's
the Legend Keystone.
It's too good. I'm surprised that a lot of people aren't using it. It does need to be specific kinds of builds, but there are quite a few of them around. So
I know we talked on our league starters. Has one build I have seen, and I'm sure you guys have seen the clip too. I think it's Crouching Tuna made it, popular. That build where Tornado Shot with Lightning Warp, where you literally just teleport across the map nonstop.
I've seen it in a Grimble video. I haven't seen it
right.
in a video yet.
My gosh,
Like,
that
Grim's
looks
also
insane.
doing
That looks like if Chris Wilson or Jonathan Rogers were passed on, they would be rolling in their graves. Honestly, because that is probably not what they want to see in PoE 1, where you started the portal.
Made it possible, like they laid the foundation for it,
Right? They do that. It's so
they
crazy.
always say that they don't quite intend the amount of finesse that the players end up putting into their build, which is why they end up having to nerf stuff like that, the extreme outliers. But in the end, I mean, they're giving us the tools to do these things, so they can't be completely oblivious to what they've done there, right?
The ultimate embrace move would be to do the build of the week for this league on that build. One of them, I know they've brought back that series. I don't know if they're still going to be doing it, but if they do, they should totally highlight that and showcase it to the community. That would be embracing the absolute madness you can accomplish in PoE 1.
They've done that
and
with
then get rid of it next league
with the weapon swap build, right? When they've done the showcase for the weapon swap abuse build, where you literally just spammed weapon swap all day.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be out of character for them to highlight the build.
That'd be super cool.
Demonstrates such clever use of game mechanics. Is the
exactly.
Word,
right?
Yep. Clever.
Very
clever use. I thought about it because I'm playing a Deadeye, and I was like, oh, I could do that. And I had a good look at the people running it, and I was like, I actually couldn't control a character that moved that quick. My brain doesn't move that quick. I'm gonna pass.
That's too quick. To control it, it looked pretty autopilot-y to me.
I'm like, I want fast, I want zoomy, but there's a level at which I can no longer comprehend what's going on the screen, and that's the level.
I get that.
Yeah. Also, it's probably the factor that once you play a build like that, everything else is going to feel garbage.
Oh, very true. If you like that sort of gameplay, I bet that's true. Like, even my Bone Shatter Jug compared to my Trickster last league, it feels so slow. I was zooming really fast with Frostblades. Oh my gosh. That's a fun skill if you haven't tried it yet. Awesome skill to play, especially with the Trickster. I was zooming through maps, just blasting everything. Very fun. My Jug is a lot slower.
But reliable.
Very reliable.
Like the Titanic until you hit the iceberg.
I'm shocked at what I can tank. Like I said, it's all trial and error for me. I don't know exactly what I can tank in the limit, but it's really cool seeing that limit.
Yeah, so I asked about the tattoos because I was curious, because I was doing the same thing that you just suggested is like for a long time when I started playing Tota, I was just like getting tattoo after tattoo and like, oh, this looks good, pop that on the tree. Like why not use the resources to make my character stronger and I can still refund or like, scour it off. And in the end, it's like a 2 or 3C tattoo early on when you get the cheaper ones. And then like, what's the loss? I don't want to do trades that are lower than 5 to 10C anyway, even in the beginning. But I was wondering, Tati, you said the rewards are scuffed for Ruthless all the way to the last round. So you don't really get tattoos before the last round, or you're getting a solid amount of tattoos before that?
No, all the tattoos, I assume you get the same amounts as non-Ruthless, all the like smaller tattoos as
Okay.
well. But I
Okay,
mean, the
but
more
only the
valuable
currency
tattoos,
rewards are
the one
bad.
that you get from the end of the tournament, though, right? Actually, I didn't look through the list of all tattoos before the league on purpose, and though it's really fun for the first like 2 weeks to actually see what you get from these tattoos. I was like, wait, 3% rarity for Ruthless? I'm gonna slap that on my tree immediately.
That's true. I didn't think
love it.
about that. I didn't look at it through the Ruthless lens, but yeah. That's pretty
Yeah, that was
huge.
amazing. I mean, having some extra rarity, so you get more rares from maps. So
Mad
I think I still
respect.
have mostly rarity tattoos on my tree.
Mad respect for not looking at the list before.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Do you-
fun. I mean, I only watched those that they announced, like officially, right? But yeah, I didn't look
Yeah.
the PUDB
I couldn't
thing.
handle that.
Yeah, it was really fun because
you
I know
gotta
that
try it.
I will not be able to build around it anyway. And like whenever I make the starter builds too, I try to not build around the rewards you get from the next league mechanic, right? So that your build
Yeah.
would definitely work even without it. So yeah, I felt like there was no reason to actually spoil myself for all this info. I mean, people in Discord, of course, talking like, "Yo, Totem Tattoo, Totem Life, let's go." But yeah, I mean, mostly like 90% tattoos I didn't know.
Yeah, the Totem Life tattoo might be crazy with the new Flamewood support, where it shoots a meteor that deals a percentage
Mm-hmm.
of its life as fire damage, and yeah, there might be something there. I actually think Wolfio did a leveling run already with Ancestor War Chief. I don't know whether he did the Flamewood, but something where he obliterated the leveling. I'm gonna have to look through it.
Yeah.
It just popped up on my feed. I haven't had the time to check it out yet. But
Yeah, actually, I followed his progress. Yeah, league started with Flamewood Totem, Ancestor War Chief. Kind of like last league, we had exploded Totem builds, right? And people found out that apparently Ancestor War Chief has like 10 times the life of any other Totem. So you can actually use it to apply huge ignites and just reapply the ignites with a curse, right? Like there's at the top of the tree, there is a note that says
Right.
like when you curse an enemy, you reapply the ignite duration. So have like infinite long duration ignite from Ancestor War Chief. But so, I mean, obviously there is a bunch of issues with this build. For example, like he was summoning a totem on the boss, and this totem, like Ancestor War Chief, right, jumps around. So the boss sometimes can't even hit it. It's like it jumps left, right. Like, oh no, the boss doesn't hit it. Don't do
you
damage.
gotta roll turbo on the boss, so he's more likely to hit your totem.
Yeah, I guess, or something like that. But that was actually like a really good DPS on PB, like 8 million ignite DPS with like no gear, right? With just rares from Ancestor Worship, and you use normal Ancestor Worship for mapping, so it's like 1.5 million DPS consistently, and this like burst against bosses for 8 millions, which is really great. And there was like also a bug which was fixed, where this Flamewood support, it actually checked the accuracy, or I mean, so basically it's a spell,
I heard about that.
but yeah,
Yep.
you had to scale accuracy to, to actually hit with that. That was like super stupid. I think that made him stop playing the build, as far as I understood. And also some
Okay.
bosses are just bugged and they hit the totem, but they don't trigger the projectile. I'm not sure if that thing was fixed. So yeah, generally like a pretty fun build is if you're a totem enjoyer, which I am. But I still, by the way, I just realized I never dropped this support gem in Ruthless still. Wow, I didn't get a chance to check it out.
Damn.
Pain.
Certainly interesting build. Too bad they killed it for totem mechanic though. In Tota they made it so that everything is immune to taunt, and like playing this build, you rely on enemies on taunting enemies to hit your totem, to deal damage. But I guess in
right.
Tota you don't really need to deal damage anyways, so it's like a whole other
And
story.
there's also a lot of AoE spells, so when you put down a totem, it's bound to get hit anyway.
I guess, yeah.
But aside from specific builds and the rewards, like how were you finding the mechanic? We want to talk a little bit about Tota itself. Have you played a fair bit of Tota, and what were your experiences with it so far? Who wants to go first?
I'll hop in. I have no qualms about doing that. I've played a decent amount. I'm not high ranking yet. I'm around 380, I think. Wow, I'm totally showing my playtime right there, aren't I? But
Damn.
I know I'm only 380. Like I said, I just got my 4th Void Stone, so in Trade League, right? So there you go. But I've been enjoying it thus far. The only qualm that I haven't ran into, of course, I'm not high rating or anything, so I haven't ran into the whole, oh, you can't DPS down the Titanic shut. Like, I've had no issues with any of that. The only little nitpick I have is that I think, and it's a skill issue, the totems are hard to click for me. Am I just bad? Like when you're channeling and you
I have
got to
the same
constantly
issue.
like dodge out of the way of stuff, right? The projectiles and everything, because the AI in some of my units just, I don't know, they don't seem to work. So I'm the one who has to constantly go on the offense. I find them so hard to click. Am I
for
crazy?
sure.
I also click, and my character just runs through that. I'm like,
You're
what the
right.
hell?
So that's been my only qualm, but everything else has been pretty fun. I like the effort that they put into the art direction of it. I think the gameplay is interesting. A lot of the characters, like the enemies, have cool moves. You know, I know them by all their voice lines already, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just clicking the actual totems, it's rough. And then sometimes the slog that you can go through if you get into a stalemate, where if you get totally screwed in the first little bit of the match and you only have a few units remaining, but
Yep.
you refuse to lose this match, so you just keep pushing because you know you can beat this stupid AI, right? So you spend like 20 minutes on a rank 220 match to win, you know. Yeah, that's
Well,
my
Manga Boy in chat
experience.
apparently says if you have a skill on left click, maybe that bugs out and you cannot click on totem. I gotta try that. So do you have a skill on left click?
I do.
Someone told me I don't feel that's the problem. I feel like that
It's
the
not?
totems
Hmm.
just have incredibly small or weird
Right.
name lock shapes, right?
I feel like that because I don't have
Maybe,
that problem
but
in PoE.
I've never not had a skill on left click to try.
Yeah.
Like,
I
when
have
do you not have
multiple on it,
something
and
on left click?
I took it off, and it doesn't really make any difference.
Doesn't?
Like it
Okay.
behaves exactly the same in my experience with or without Molten Shell. Like also with move only, it's
Right.
very easy to click past the totem, and then instead of standing still and channeling, your character walks past the totem, making it harder again to name lock to the totem because now it's moving, right?
Right, get slammed by that Tawakanawa. The names are so hard. I don't know. I try to
Yeah.
pronounce them right, but I can't. But I end up
I
getting
don't even
slammed by
try.
that guy constantly.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, I found that guy to be the worst. Now my worst offenders are the Ikiaho, which is the moon guy with the
Oh, really?
silver comet.
Silver
That's
Comet.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one, because I don't have a lot of chaos res, the Tavanuku with the
Oh,
chaos
yeah,
nova, with the
that's
soul
the one
rent
I was
nova
thinking
thing.
of. Yep.
But he
Yep.
also has that weird chaos comet, like the thing that comes down from the top and
Yeah.
instantly one-shots you, and she can cast it from off screen. There's like
Yes.
zero telegraphing for that
As
one.
soon as
Like,
you
have
start
to-
channeling her totem, she'll just be like, "You're done right
It
away."
happened to me
Right?
before that I interrupted my channeling because I thought I saw it coming. I flame blinked away, frost blinked away, and then she cast it on my new direction and instantly one-shot me where I arrived with the frost blink.
It's a
That one-
skill issue.
It wouldn't be as problematic if I actually had chaos resist. Like I'm sitting at a pretty bad chaos resist value, and I don't know. I don't think I would get one shot by it if I was chaos resist cap. But then eventually, there's always a point probably where you get one shot by it. As you get up the ranks, like before 2000, I'm sure there's a point where she will one shot you even through 75% chaos resist. I don't know. I haven't asked.
Yeah,
But
right. I guess that would have been a good opener. Where's everybody ranked at right now? I'm like 300 something. Where's everybody else?
I reached like 720 yesterday.
Oh my gosh, you guys
I have a character at 1100, one at 500, and one at 300.
Oh, it's by character? I thought it was a
that's the
count.
worst.
No, it's super. I haven't been in it in quite a few days now because I re-rolled another character and I'm not doing it again. Like, I don't want to grind to 1,000 again. So I'm basically done with the league mechanic for the rest of the league because my poison SRS build is the one that's at 1,000
Yeah.
or maybe like 1,100, I think. And I would keep going with other characters, but I'm not starting again.
Wait, so Tantiantel, does that mean your character that died at, what was it, 75 or something? You got to restart from 1 in the tournament?
Yeah, but I mean, I died actually at pretty low level, so right now I'm 750 ranking. It's like really high. I got my good omens for the 6-link brass dome at around like 600, so I guess that's where rewards start getting like really spicy. But yeah, so you gotta start every character with low rank. It kind of was, I think it was the same with Delph Lake when it was Delph, right? You had to like dealt
Oh, it
from the
was?
very beginning
Yeah,
of each
with per
character.
character, you're right.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah.
they switched it to account wise, and then we're here like back to where we were like 5 years ago. Again, like
Yeah.
per character thing.
One of the
Yeah, I don't
more
know why
frustrating
they do the
things
same
for
thing.
me about this game is that's a mistake we've already made. Can we not?
Mhm.
Can we try to just not make the same mistake we've already made again?
Yeah,
please?
exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that?
Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
I was like,
just gonna-
I can't help but think they made the decision for a reason, but I'm struggling to come up with a good reason for it. But I guess it's like so that no one feels compelled to like roll a specific character. Nah, it goes both ways because there's extra motivation to start a specific character when it's separate as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's for me the bigger problem is that after all of the time I spent there, I still feel it's pretty unrewarding.
Yeah.
Comparatively to like anything else I could do. And I'm not talking about like my MF super juiced thing, right? Like it shouldn't be rewarding enough to compete with that,
Yeah.
obviously. But realistically, we can do like 25 different Alkengo or close to Alkengo Atlas strategies that'll just
I was
Right.
gonna say
give
that
you more
any
money
league
than
mechanic
that.
you invest fully on the Atlas tree, like go all in on Abysses plus Delirium and just farm maps with that, with Abyss Scarabs and all that, then yeah, you're probably gonna make more money per hour.
Yeah.
I've
And
been
I
doing
think
dual.
it takes you out of maps. Like you have to leave maps and stop all your other progression. My idea of an out of map league mechanic is that if it's going to drag me out and stop all my other progression, it should be more rewarding than generic Alkengo low investment strats. Less rewarding than super giga juice, min maxed. You know, I've got a mirror build. I'm gonna build the Costa mirror. I'm doing these super juiced 8 mod corrupted things. Like, yeah, that's probably gonna make you more money, right? Just super high investment.
Well-
that's fine. But it should be better than Alkengo mapping strats.
Do you
To
think
go
they're,
into the league mechanic.
if they
and just-
want to bring it core, do you think they'll do kind of what they did with Heist, where Heist, I think a big reason a lot of people go heisting is for the gems, you know, the alternate quality gems, right? Or Tattoo's going to be that, but they're just going to make their rare ones, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
a little bit
I
more
was gonna say,
common. Then it'll be more.
To what extent does the presence of exclusive loot justify like overall lower level of reward?
Right.
It justifies it when they have a worth or a value
Yeah.
that makes it worth your time. Like I know I'm saying a lot of things that are only relevant to trade, but like softcore trade is also where most people play the game. So like that is the important balance factor, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I think Sanctum is actually in a really good place. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Sanctum's way too rewarding. Sanctum's way too rewarding. But you have to leave your Atlas to do it.
I hate Sanctum.
And I actually think that is in a good place as far as like rewards go. If you're going to drag me out of the Atlas, like to be fair, you've got people being like, oh, I'm making 25 div an hour. But those people are doing the min-maxed version of Sanctum, right?
Yeah.
They've got
The relics.
5 relics that are
Right.
worth 25 divines each.
Yeah.
Right. So they're doing super high investment strats. If you just grab a bunch of tomes and go with what you've got, you're still pulling out 5 or 6 divines an hour pretty easily, like consistently.
Right.
And that's better than a lot of Alkengo strats, but not as good as high investment strats.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that level of reward puts it in like the perfect spot for dragging me out of a map. You should be better than Alkengo, not as good as super high investment.
Those people with the high earnings too, they probably have a build specifically for Sanctum only too, right? They don't have something that can do everything, right?
Which is also
That's
good.
what I'm
like,
seeing.
That means the out of map thing can also be heavily invested into
Right.
and optimized, and
Yep.
now you can make not just 6 to 8 divines an hour. Now you can be in there making 25, 30 divines an hour because you can run an entire temple in 12 minutes because you've got an optimized character and you've got 200 divines worth of relics in your relic locker. And that's fine. I love that. You can invest heavily. If you love that, go and do it. Fine. No problem.
Yeah.
But then you go to the league mechanic, and unless you get super lucky, it's nowhere near ready for people like reward wise, which is sad because I actually love it. I love the league mechanic. It's so fun. I want to go back there. It's not worth it.
That's so sad to hear. Do you think that Sanctum is one of the only out of league or out of map mechanics that's in a good spot? Or do you think like Heist and Delve are in decent places too?
Heist is
great.
pretty good.
Heist is good.
Still,
Yeah.
I don't actually know about Delve. I know almost nothing about Delve.
I
Me
hear
neither.
Delve is pretty good this league. The fossils that you can get from the fossil nodes are pretty worth, and
Yeah.
the alls are pretty worth, thanks to Balor's Poison SOS build. That Envy version of the amulet is
Yeah.
what, 50 divines or so. It's pretty rich, and like even like a determination or a grace one is pretty good.
Yeah.
People pay good money for those. Before we move on a little bit from Tota, I wanted to quickly ask, because I think there's an aspect to it that we as softcore trade boys are oblivious to, but Mr. Ruthless Enjoyer over here, do you think that the level of rewards is fine considering that you can't die at all in Tota, right? You go in there and theoretically as a hardcore player, you can spend all your time there without ever having a risk of dying? And you still get levels to some degree and you get rewards? I mean, you have to get the coins somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta farm the coins, but you can technically farm them on Act 10 if you're really like afraid of dying and you have super squishy character. I mean, I haven't been doing that. I wish I was doing more Tota mechanic. It's just, I mean, I on Ruthless I gotta do other things too. I gotta do Alva temples. I gotta do delving for sure. I gotta do heists. Like, something I never do, by the way, non-Ruthless is Alva. I really don't like those temples, but this is the best mechanic. I mean, after Tota, this like to have in Ruthless. So I kind of like I should play like half the lake in Ruthless and half like in non-Ruthless. So definitely get my Alva fix in Ruthless and like never look at her again. I hate her saying like just in time. Well,
That's odd. I really like Alva. Like, she's so good for making currency early on in softcore trade because, like, any like tier
you don't
3
run
room-
temples though, do you? You don't run those temples. You just sell them.
I actually end up like
That's
the thing
exactly
is the
it, though,
idea
right?
is always I run it for profit, but then every time I get a temple with a locus of corruption or a Doriani's room, I'm like, oh wait, I got something that I want to corrupt in there, and then I end up running them myself. But yeah, they're extremely rippy, especially when you get the locus of corruption with the minus max and all that. I can totally see them not being too fun and ruthless.
Yeah, honestly, the monster type there is not fun. There is like a spirit that flies around and then it like disappears, leaves copies itself, and those copies explode and do a bunch of like cold damage, as far as I understand. I really hate those mobs, and they're like in every room. I think without these monsters, I would actually enjoy the temple much more. But I also have to fully clear. Like I clear every room, including like even empty rooms, just because it's map sustain. Like I get high level temple. And every monster there can drop a map, and I really need it to sustain red maps. So, yeah, fully clearing those temples, man, that's something. I try to do like at least 2 temples a day. Yeah, try to force myself into that.
Do you in
Also,
in hardcore solo self-found, do you always go for the poof? Like if you get a locust or something, do you always corrupt an item just to go for it because you have it there, or is there a little bit of trepidation? I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Don't want to lose the item.
Well, I usually have some item. Yeah, I'm a hoarder actually, so I try to hoard like a bunch of loot, and sometimes something with like bad implicit. For example, I have some cloth belt, but with really GG stats on explicits, right? I try to save them for double corruption like that. But this like actually, I'm a little bit on copium, but I'm trying to maybe get Hidden Core lock, you know, to double corrupt my 6-link breaststone. You know?
Yeah. That's really cool how that works, by the way. The Locust and Hinokora's lock. I really like that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
I mean,
like
you can invest like huge amount of currency on trades and actually get the corruptions you need, but it's like it's so much currency, I assume.
Right. I think so. How much is Hinokora's lock worth? What was it, like 30?
45, I think, last time.
45 now? Oh, God. I'm out of date. Dang.
It's like per one try, right? And like chance for you to get actually the corruption you look for is what? It's like there is only 25% chance to not break it, right? To actually get implicit, and then you look for a specific implicit too.
Yeah.
My favorite part about Hinokori's lock is actually just that it makes my item glow purple.
Oh, it does?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
If you use the
in the
Hinokori's lock
inventory,
on an
2D
item,
model.
it gets this like cool purple effect over it. And so I did that to my Mage Blood that I dropped on the floor. and then brought it to the double corruption chamber and looked at it and was like, not going to do that. Put a overhaul orb over it and was like, not going to do that. And so it just stayed because like I don't want those outcomes. And so now I'm wearing like a cool purpley looking mage blood.
Oh, that's very cool.
Very expensive MTX.
It's a very expensive MTX. But
Right.
I didn't do it specifically for that, right? Like I did it because I was hoping for a good double corruption that'd make me a ton of money.
Yeah.
I just hit nothing, but then was like, well, I guess I'll just keep it because it looks fucking cool.
Right. Yeah, Catmaster, if you hover over a Hinocora's Lock item with the locus and it would brick it, it literally just disappears. It's so cool. Like, as long as you don't click, it'll come back. Like, not the animation. I think it just goes invisible. Like, it's just gone.
Wow.
It's
Okay,
very
that's how it
cool.
works.
I like it.
Okay. And then is there... See, this is one thing I don't know. Is there a way to change the outcome? Like, if you apply a new lock, does that change the future
Bless
outcome?
Orb. You can use a Bless Orb, I think, and that
Reroll
changes
the
right.
outcome. And so you don't even need a second lock.
No, you need a second lock, right?
Oh no, using a bless orb will consume the
The
Hinocora's
Hinocora's Lock,
So
and you'll need to, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
then you could
obviously
use
it will.
another one on
Exactly.
that item and it'll have a different outcome next
Yep.
time.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very cool.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I got a Hinocora's Lock, then that would quickly put my earnings more into the ballpark of worth it. But right now, I have to say, the last 2 sessions since the patch, I farmed with a friend. We did duo. We pushed all the way from like 420 ranking to 720 in like 2 shorter sessions. And excluding tattoos and omens, which are not counted by excellence, our collective tab had like 1600 chaos value, like 3 raw divines and something. That's really not... I mean, this is like 8 hours of farming, right? 6 to 8 hours of doing the league mechanic, I would
And
say.
for 2
roughly.
people.
And for 2 people, right? But then we did
Wow.
get 3 keystone tattoos, which are each a little bit more than a divine, I believe. And we got some other decent tattoos, like a +1 all dex gems. We got a +1 cold rest, +1 frenzy. And there's a number of good. I got the omen of connections. I got the omen for the white sockets and all that. I need to quantify that. I don't know what these things are worth.
Right.
But probably between tattoos and omens, another 5, 6 divines, right? But still, it doesn't compare to like a fully invested Atlas Alchemy Ghost Trap.
Mhm.
Especially duo, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I wish I could, but I can't understand the people in chat who are saying, I don't know, I'm making 6 divines an hour doing Tota.
I've
I
seen
can't see
more
6 divines
Mage
an
Blood.
hour.
I've seen more Mage Blood and Headhunter posts on Reddit and on the forums from Tota than I've ever seen from a past League mechanic. I don't know if it's just more people posting or something, but wow, there's been quite a few.
Didn't you see someone got a Ferrari from League Mechanic? That was crazy.
A Ferrari?
Oh, Ferrari. Oh, yeah, yeah. It was like the moment they buffed it, somebody got a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that post. Yeah, that was very cool.
Wait, what's a Ferrari?
A very expensive car.
There's a meme here and I'm missing it.
Yeah, it's a meme. Yeah. Well, GGG buffed the League Mechanic and everybody's posting about, oh, yeah. I'm getting this. I'm getting Divines. I'm getting Exalts, whatever. And then somebody posted, shit posting. Oh, look at this. I got a Ferrari. It's pretty good. Yeah. I'm not a car guy, so,
Okay, I have another question about the Tota thing, and that's we've all played a decent amount of it, so I collected that information. But what we haven't talked about yet is what was the Kahu Tuoa, the guy with the earthquakes and the leap slams and stuff like that. I said that guy was really bad for me in the beginning, but now I dislike other ones. The Kahu Tuoa guy I actually find really clearly telegraphed, and he's so slow because my mate is now running split arrow with dual curse on hit, temp chains enfeeble, and he also chills and hinders, I believe, right? And I'm playing my tanky character. We barely kill the bosses, right? We just take the totems, right? We don't fight the enemy team for the most part if we can avoid it. We just instantly rush them and take like 3, 4, 5 totems by storm, and then they're at a disadvantage, and then like we slowly finish it out. But the enemies are slowly getting so tanky that they're really hard to deal with. So yeah, for the most part, we're happy when we don't get Titanic shells. We can still kill them. It just takes a while, right? But what I wanted to say is that with all the slowing, Kahuturora is actually really easy to dodge, and you can easily dance around the totems. Like I channel the totem, he starts doing his slam, I just frost blink to the other side, let him do his thing, and keep on channeling. He's easy to deal with, but has anyone noticed like a weird sort of desync with the server? That's how it feels like, and some people in chat have described it to me as that as well, where sometimes you feel like you get interrupted by while banishing or stunned or killed at a different point than when you get hit, right? So you think you're getting hit, you think you're repositioning or interrupting your banishing at the right time, but you still get interrupted. Like I had a couple of situations, for example, where I was banishing a totem, the totem disappeared, but I got hit and I still got interrupted. I get the 5-second death draw debuff, even though I finished the totem and I was technically done with the channeling. So I don't know how that logistically works.
I haven't.
Maybe one of your warriors finished the totem, like if you're
That's what I thought the first time it happened, but the most recent time we didn't have anyone from the team nearby. It was just my character.
Team is in bad, I say. Well, actually, I noticed some desync like that only with leap slam attacks from different warriors, and so sometimes like
definitely.
They jump and I die, and then they land. Like I noticed
exactly,
that stuff quite
exactly
often.
like that. Also, his earthquake, like his aftershock when he slams the ground, like it also seems to hit at a different point in time than the visual animation.
The Goliath of Knights too. They have the same issue, I believe, with the move they use.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm just really frustrated every time I die to one shot from all of those guys. I can't. I just makes me want to log out, of course, every time. But you gotta keep pushing. This is so rewarding in Ruthless.
Plus, you're not losing anything in the long run,
That's
right?
very good.
Yeah, except for your your sanity. It's the most important resource there.
Yeah, that's the most important good when you're playing Ruthless, because then you start out with very little to begin with.
But yeah, apparently I've seen people posting like versus Titanic Shell. People go for damage overwhelm escort units, right? Something like War Colors, I think, in Goliaths to also have the physical overwhelm. So they actually like kill the turtle, even with the ZDPS builds pretty quickly. I didn't try this strat myself yet. But I'm kind of looking for all the tips like this, where like without making a special build, because I can't change my build, right? And there's no way. So you guys, can you recommend something? So actually, I added also the Void Sphere to the build, and that helps a lot. Yeah, maybe
Void
some
Sphere is a
other
big one.
like easy things to introduce, or like maybe in terms of warriors, so you start winning much more.
You said that they changed it so no one can get taunted, right? That was like the last patch that they did that, or the patch before that, like the couple days in?
Unaffected by taunt. They still get the like taunt thing on them, so you can still like play champions or whatever.
Wait,
like,
so
they
still technically count as taunted? They just don't do anything, but they. So they actually, don't get the damage reduction on targets that are not the source of the taunt, or not?
They still get that.
They get that. I mean,
they're just not forced to attack. That's all.
They're not forced.
Speaking of getting this damage reduction from taunt, excuse me. So that was fixed this lake, right? Apparently it never worked, which is crazy to me. Like I was always recommending everybody decoy totem, even on bosses, because like, it doesn't make it so that boss attacks your decoy totem, but it makes it so that it deals 10% less damage to you. So it's an amazing like defensive layer. And apparently it never worked. Like, with this. Recently, we had vulnerability, like not working for ailments. We had bone shield and combustion, I think, right? That didn't work. So many things we assume that work and don't. So I really hope the taunt actually now works, like for real this time.
Well, even if it has zero impact on aggro now, like I still put down my decoy totem on a regular basis in Tota, and I still see enemies walking up to it and attacking it, even though they technically don't get taunted, but they
they can still just decide to attack it, right?
Exactly.
Still, there's one other thing about the league mechanic that's got me like kind of a little tiny bit miffed. Your animate guardian, if you're playing a minion build, counts as a monster. It's coded as a monster. Your animate guardian is a monster. Doesn't matter, it's a monster.
It's for you or for enemies?
Well, it's for us. It counts as our monster, but it's a monster. It just belongs to us. One problem with that is there's a move, I can't remember the name of it, but we were looking at it on PoEDB. there's a move in there that's coded to do 15% less damage to players. And that's its at base. And the idea is it also does 900% more damage to monsters because it's supposed to affect the enemy NPCs quite heavily.
Yeah.
Without guaranteeing killing the player. Doesn't matter how tanky you build your Animate Guardian. Does not matter what you do. He will get one shot. End of story. He's dead.
What is it, like the flame explosion suicide one?
No, it's something a boss does. It's one of the boss moves.
Oh gosh.
It's the one that's like a full screen cone AoE attack from a big melee club. I forget who does it.
Okay.
But there's no way to pull your Animate Guardian out of that. Like it covers half the screen. But when you get hit by it, it doesn't really hurt that much. It hurts the NPCs a lot.
Right.
That's the design of that mob. It hurts you if you've got a squishy build, you'll still die. But if you're relatively tanky, you can get hit by that. It's a full screen cone and it probably won't kill you. Even at 1100 ranking, it still doesn't do enough damage to kill you. But it'll one-shot your Animate Guardian instantly. Just gone. There's nothing you cannot make it tanky enough. It's impossible. It's so 900% more damage to him.
That's a curious classification. So there's players, monsters. Why isn't Animate Guardian classified as a minion? That's a different category, right?
Yeah, and your Spectre, that's 1/10 as tanky as your Animate Guardian,
survives it.
Loses like a quarter of its life, and it's way squishier.
Yeah.
But your Animate Guardian, fucking insta-dead. Instant dead. I got nothing. I don't know why that's a decision that got made. I was hoping that in the patches that happened in the first week or so that would get fixed. I don't expect it to get fixed anymore.
You'd also imagine that with all the things that go wrong with Animate Guardian all the time, with it being such an outlier case, that it would be on a top priority list for testing with any like new mechanics that get implemented, right?
Well, I don't know, but I've had a lot of people being like, "My Animate Guardian's dead," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can't bring Bob to the league mechanic. He's done. You're just not allowed."
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I have one more thing, and I know you want to move on, Kat, to the next topic.
Well, we got time a little.
I'm disappointed that Hinakura wasn't a boss or something. I've been missing new pinnacle bosses in the leagues, and I know that they're putting a lot of time in with PoE 2, and that's why we're not getting like new boss battles or anything like that. But I thought that would have been so cool as a surprise encounter at the end. A pinnacle encounter, kind of like Lycia and bosses in the past. That would have been pretty cool. Really. Instead, we got a lot of lore, which is cool. I don't know if you guys are lore enjoyers, but that's why I originally started making content for. Really cool lore from Hinakura. You should click on her. Click on her, man. You got to try it.
I need to.
That was so annoying to skip all these exclamation marks.
Yeah, in the beginning they wouldn't let you do the vendoring, right? They wouldn't let you do the vendoring unless you
spoke to her.
Well, if they had an exclamation mark, you couldn't control.
It would play the line, right? You couldn't control click. Yeah,
basically. But now that's a thing, so you can control click. You don't need to double click in order to skip the lore first.
Right.
I love when they added in the patch that the gods or warriors do the talk in between themselves, similar to when you're in the heist planning room. That's a great addition.
I think it's
we didn't have it initially. I thought they started talking. I was that was weird. They never did it before. I'm like, wait, what happens? What do I do? Maybe I reach some ranking, so like I get to this part of the lore. So it was just added with a patch. I see.
Just a patch.
They're trash talking each other. It's pretty good.
But so what you just said about like new endgame stuff, I know that a while ago GGG said that before PoE 2 they're not going to do any more endgame expansions. But recently when we had the Q&A in the park here in Cologne with the GGG people and all that, Chris has himself admitted that we're kind of due for an endgame expansion with the timeline for PoE 2 being changed and PoE 2 being further away. He said we're kind of due for an endgame thing. I'm not sure. He didn't like say that 323 was going to be an endgame thing, but it's very likely seeing that it's the Christmas expansion, right?
That would be amazing.
Also, I'm under the impression that the saying we weren't going to get any more endgame expansions was said originally when PoE 2 was just going to be PoE 1.
Right.
Right. But now that they're going to be separate games, you can't just be like, there's no endgame expansion. Well, it's a separate game, so you can't just do that now, right? So there's going to be something coming.
I am a fan of the new keystones they added. I think they open up a lot of different possibilities. But yeah, I'd love some actual new arenas or bosses to fight. Something like the Maven. I think just adding one more. They don't have to go big and add 4 bosses. Just one more encounter I think would be great with a set of unique items and stuff. I think that'd be a really good addition. With a boss kill event, that'd be pretty hype. You know, Ben can earn some more money. Be good, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
maybe
I
have
don't
like
care
even a
about
parallel
any of
event
that.
for Ruthless and like the regular league. Don't make it a Ruthless event, but also don't skip Ruthless for the event. Like have one regular league event, HCSSF, so that is
Yeah.
finished within a week or 2, and then the Ruthless race that can go on for a little bit longer.
Did you
I just
participate in
want
that
New maps.
No.
at all?
I want new maps. Not maps, but new juice for my maps.
Yes. I also would love that. Be cool.
What do you mean
I
juice
feel
for
like
the
we
maps?
keep
You
getting
mean
new
the
bosses.
mechanic in maps?
Say again.
We keep getting new bosses, but we don't really get like new ways to put. The one thing that I always want to do is put the most amount of monsters in my map as possible and have them drop loot on the floor.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And it's been a very long time since we've been given that.
You want new
I mean,
tools
I'm waiting
to play
for
with.
Sentinel overtaking the Tormented Spirits like mechanic. I'm waiting for that.
Oh yeah,
That should probably make you happy, right?
That'd make me happy.
That
I don't think
Would be
Torment is
cool.
going to go away. They just like updated it, right?
right. Didn't
Yeah.
they
It's
say they're not
actually
going to
good
do Sentinel? I think they outright said it in an interview at Gamescom or PAX
They said
West.
something along the lines of they'd like to introduce elements of Sentinel, but as far as the league
Recombinators.
goes, like having robots fly around you and all
Right,
that, they
yeah.
don't think it fits thematically with Path of Exile.
Totally.
so-
Yeah. Recombinators though, that was a boon for me as like a low tier player, just smashing stuff together, and they were actually accessible.
I mean,
Right?
that would be the easiest fix to Trial of the Ancestors. Would be just put recombinators in there.
Oh,
Oh,
that'd be
yeah.
amazing.
I'll make if they announced, hey, we're putting recombinators in on Friday. I would in the morning be leveling a league specific character to do the event. Like I'd be like, oh, I'm in. Let's go.
Did you
I would
sell off your
immediately
Poison
drop
Masters?
my magic find, and I would just be setting up for trial immediately.
They were the ultimate, PoE experience, as Chris Wilson, has said before, how he likes slamming stuff with exalted orbs. When you were slamming together stuff with recombinators, I'd always close my eyes and just be like, "Oh, please, these two." And sometimes it would be an
The
awesome
animation was so
experience.
cool.
Say again.
You can't close your eyes. The animation was so cool in the.
Oh,
in
it
the
was a very
UI
cool
and
animation. That's very true. It was a good animation, but had
So you
that
get,
experience a few
one
times. and it
stat,
was
second
awesome.
stat.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had like, yeah. They
They
built enough.
implemented that with Crucible a little bit with the trees, but it was not as cool. It really wasn't.
No.
Bring them back,
I have
please.
to say, Crucible really grew on me. Maybe it was just because it ended up being a 5-month league.
Stockholm
But, like,
syndrome.
Yeah. No, but I kind of like it. I like the system. I understand
that's
why
what
it
they
didn't
say.
go core. I mean, the little tree system, not the actually standing still and channeling and waiting for the monsters to spawn and to get one shot. But like the
Don't you get a lot
actual
of
like
channeling in this mechanic?
true, yeah, it's channeling the game.
Oh
Yeah.
goodness.
There's another topic we need to talk about that I'm afraid you're gonna feel a little bit left out, Tati, because you're outside of a trade economy. But what's good to farm this league, guys? What is making money this league? Since Tota clearly isn't the best way to make money, at least for the majority of people. We've seen some people say they make incredible money with Tota, but I haven't been able to reproduce it. So maybe it's just because I'm so slow at it, or I'm unlucky. I'm not at high enough rank. Copium. Yeah, surely it will be better with another couple hundred ranks. What are you doing to make money, Bella?
I mean, you can't replicate what I'm doing. It's way too expensive.
Okay, what you'd recommend for someone getting into the game right now? Someone looking to start playing the league this weekend. What would you tell them to do?
Sanctum is insane. If you can build a Sanctum runner, really good. Legion farming is still great. Breach is sort of only okay. Abyss is sort of only okay.
Only
Harbingers
okay?
are doing surprisingly well.
I think
Um,
Abyss is good with how many monsters it adds to your map and how it interacts with,
Mm.
like, for example, Delirium. But I haven't done enough testing with it. And like the problem that I see with Abyss, I've been running it all league and I haven't gotten a build. Like it's very inconsistent in terms of spawning bosses and spires.
Abyss is good if you're using it for Delirium or beyond.
Okay,
Mm.
but in
But it's
itself,
not great in its own, right? It's part of a Delirium farm or part of a Beyond farm. But it's not really its own thing. Like, yeah, the jewel, like the SRS jewel's worth like 10 div, and you'll probably eventually get one of those. And that'll feel real good because you'll get 10 div all at once. But if you just had harbingers on your map the whole time, you'd have made 20, but you just made it a little bit at a time, right? So
Yeah.
Harvest is really good with the rotating crops as well. The rotating crop thing looks great.
I have a simple one that's kind of low barrier that I've been doing. If you have a little bit of luck, it's pretty profitable, at least for, an entry level player. It's destructive play. If you have an okay build and you're not rolling super rippy mods on your maps, the new Maven keystone, at least in my experience, I've had so many invitations and so many different Guardian maps drop because each of the extra bosses that she spawns will have a chance to drop one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loaded with them. And the invitations are selling decently well too, like the formed especially. You can just list those, they'll go in seconds. People will just buy them up. Or if you want to, you can run them yourself if your build is capable and get, 6 Maven splinters. And 1 Maven's Writ is like 1 div, which is, it's a lot for me. And if someone is just entering the league and they're not used to making tons of profit and they just want to slowly build up wealth to purchase gear upgrades, I think that's a pretty valuable or a pretty easy way to do it. I think it's pretty consistent. I haven't had any dry spells yet, and maybe I'm just lucky, but it's been
I've
a
been told it
good
made,
go about it, and it's fun.
It made Cortex a fair bit more accessible.
Yeah. Yep. Everything, all the Guardian maps, and I really enjoy that. I do like I said before, fighting the bosses, and with my build, I don't delete stuff, so I do have to engage with the mechanics, and so I do like going into those battles. Right? It's fun for me. It might not be the most profitable, but it's engaging, and it's been pretty reliable for me. So I'd recommend that. It's a fun one too. Just randomly getting I think I got Katava while I was fighting the Forge of the Hydra. So I had Katava, I had Arakali, and then one other boss, and it was just madness in this arena. Everything flying around. I had Maven witnessing, so she made a duplicate of the Hydra, and it was a very fun fight. I'd recommend it.
Is there a map that you try to farm with this keystone? Because I've been told that apparently map bosses that have multiple phases, like for example peer map, right?
Yeah.
On each phase it can summon extra bosses from this keystone.
I did not know that. That's insane if true.
Really?
I hadn't heard that, but what I did hear is that if you kill the boss too quick, you get none of them.
You do. So that's why it's good, because I'm a ZDPS build, so I don't delete stuff. But yeah, that's true. If you kill it too fast, it won't even spawn. She won't spawn any bosses. She has to say the voice line and do the little animation.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried the peer strategy. That'd be pretty
not just
interesting.
peer, but every single phase boss. Like for example, just hit
Carcass?
Lava Lake, right?
Lava
Carcass.
Lake.
Skylar.
Yeah.
But
That'd be
yeah, it's
very
kind of
nice.
inconsistent, I've been told. So basically, she summons from 1 to 3 bosses, and as far as understood, if she summons all 3 bosses with the first spell, she doesn't summon more. But if she summons only 1 boss in the first phase, on the second phase she can add another 2.
Okay, so if you
As far as
low
I
roll,
understand.
right, you have a chance again. That's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's capped to 3 maximum bosses per extra bosses per map. But yeah, maybe something to look into for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
I heard people who don't play ZDPS builds, they have issues where they kind of one-shot the boss. Not even before it summons extra bosses, but after, in order to not witness the boss, so you could summon this, you could run the same map. You need to have the Maven button activated, right, on map device. So if you witness the boss, you cannot run the same map, and that's what people like doing, running the same map over and over again, right? So you have to not kill the main boss, but kill additional bosses, and that's why
Very
also people go for
interesting.
not Mesa map, but for some phased bosses maps.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard of that. That's very interesting. Because yeah, with this strategy too, I thought it was a nice break from just running like what I was doing for a little bit was City Square, Crimson Temple, just bouncing between the two. But if you wanted some variation, right, and you'd have to farm different bosses because you can't witness the same one twice, you'd go with this. But that's interesting that if you don't have like AoE, you just clear the bosses that spawn, right? Very cool.
Heavy strike builds. Let's go.
Just to be clear, the additional bosses that she summons, they don't count for witnessing anyway.
They don't.
Right? They're
That'd be
purely for the
insane.
extra drops.
Yeah,
That
that'd
was
be
what
insane.
we were theorizing before the league started.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
accounted
would have
for
been
that.
insane. Like boosting the rate of generating Maven basically by like a factor.
They
of
can
4.
drop the gems though. I've had 2 gems drop from a boss before. They weren't good ones, but they did drop. So that's very cool.
But they could have been good ones.
They could have been good. Can the good? I don't even know. Can the good ones drop from map bosses like multi-strike, or is that like a Maven only?
I actually don't know.
Because I thought there was a gating that was done when they added the empowered and light, like the extra level
I think
of
there's like
enlightened
a
and
tier
empowered.
of really good ones, like
Yeah.
Rogue Spell Cascade and stuff like that.
Right,
Because
yeah.
that shit, I need that for my build ultimately if I want to make the rebuild. If I want to finish that, right? Like at the very top level, I need Awakened Spell Cascade for the overlaps and just for
Yeah.
the coverage, right?
Mhm.
To have a real clearing build. Like right
Yeah.
now, it's fine. It feels a little bit like melee, but with Reap being like a spell that you can cast all the way to the edge of the screen, you are sort of flexible, but you don't cover a huge area. It's just you have to cast multiple times and have like a little bit of luck with the Herald of Ash overkill damage and all that to have good clear. But what am I trying to say is I need to Awaken Spell Cascade, and that one is consistently around 20 divine.
Mm.
So I would imagine that one only drops from... where is it? Is it Maven or is
Maven
it,
or Uber Maven?
Cirrus?
Yeah.
Maven, yeah.
Maven is the Awakened Gems now.
Yeah, it's not Cirrus anymore. I remember those days. That's when I started. That's why Cirrus has a special place in my heart. I love that boss fight.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yep.
You mean unironically, right? Or
I am unironically, I love that boss fight. But it's because it's when I started. It was the first pinnacle boss I killed. Just like I'm sure some people really are attached to Shaper or Elder or whatever. Cirrus was my guy. I was there when you had to juggle the storms. So anybody knew when he first came out, you had to kind of play. I don't know what the hell it would be. You basically had to move the storms yourself. Right now they all just move around and sometimes they're uncontrollable. Well, before you could kind of control them by going near the edge of them and you could push them away. Oh, it was a different battle. It was still red on red.
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Tati, though, if you had to play on Trade League starting tomorrow, what would you do to make currency? Seeing that in Ruthless, you said you have to do everything, right? Because everything has its own like loot identity, and you need kind of all the components to make your build happen. But like, if you had to generate trade wealth right now, what would be your go-to strat?
Well, I would definitely go for something that I just like doing because I mean I realize some like mechanics do like even 3 times more currency per hour, right? I wouldn't care about that. I would just spend three times more time in a mechanic that I like doing. But I actually like doing Sanctum, so that's kind of fortunate for me. I probably would do Sanctum Runner. I would go for that. And there was actually another question to Bellarmage. He mentioned the crop rotation keystone, right, for harvest. So I'm right now in Ruthless thinking about maybe if I want to spec into that. And like, do you have, like on average, how much more juice do you get with that? Or, like,
I haven't actually done the farm. I've just seen some YouTube videos.
Yeah, I guess I'll need to do some research then.
It seems like roughly they're getting about 50 to 70% more total juice than they were in the past. But far more importantly, a very, very large portion of the total juice is exactly the kind of juice you're after. Right? So it's about 70% more than we were getting before. But now it's like, instead of being like 50% the color you're after and like 20, 25, 25 for the others, it's more like 90% the color you're after. Like, so that's the reason it's much better.
By the
Yeah,
color
that
you're
sounds
after,
awesome.
you mean the vivid
Yellow.
juice, right? The
Yeah.
yellow juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm after different juice,
Well,
actually. I'm
I
after
mean, if
purple
you
juice.
want to get purple instead, you could focus on that. If you want less money, I guess, for whatever reason.
Yeah, purple juice allows you to reroll the type of fossil in Ruthless. This is super
Ooh.
valuable, I'm telling you.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
nice.
It's like the only way to craft items in Ruthless is with fossils.
Yep.
Because
You're
it's
not
the
locked into
only
yellow.
resource you can farm
Right.
consistently, or
Was that again?
is it because fossils are the only resource that you can farm consistently, or like,
No,
I
so
mean, could you do
basically-
essence crafting, or is that another reason essences are too rippy, or?
No, yeah, essences exist, but so you get like worst tier of essences. You get like whaling essences mostly. I mean, if you fully spec into essences, you can get some screaming essences, but never shrieking. To get shrieking, you need to actually combine 3 to 1, which is like super expensive. And
Right.
Also in Ruthless, you cannot re-roll rare items with anything but chaos orbs. So essences you only slam on white bases. And
So you need a
fossils
scour
also, they
every
have...
time you want to reroll with an essence.
No, you just pick up a bunch of bases. You don't scour. I don't have scours, what you're talking about. So yeah, fossils also have alchemical resonators, no chaotic resonators. So you need to fossil a new item, a new base.
Right,
God.
right.
Whew.
Pick up a lot of bases.
You're making it sound worse.
Yeah. I mean,
but the-
so by the way, like you
dopamine-
can, for example, farm fracture an orb from Harbinger. So you can fracture an item, but then you can't craft it because it's gonna be rare, and so you cannot reroll it. I mean, the only way to roll it is to use the chaos orbs, which is like not good.
I've chaos crafted things before in trade, but with thousands of chaos, not with however many you get in Ruthless, which can't be enough.
Do you have Eldritch
Yeah.
currency in Ruthless or no? Probably not.
Nah, you do have it. Yeah, I have like
You do?
50 icers already, so you can get the places pretty consistently.
Do you have the Eldritch
Actually-
Chaos Orb and stuff like that, or does that not drop?
No, I didn't drop a single one yet. Yeah, but
Oh.
I wanted to mention that. So altars, like I mentioned, like the league mechanics provide you the currency of that league mechanic, right? And in a
Yeah.
way, Eldritch altars are also kind of like a league mechanic, and they like every time you get an altar, you get actually Iker as a reward. I mean,
Oh,
sometimes you also
okay.
get quantity and rarity, but like every time you have a choice of Iker. So, and I get like altar every like 3 maps, I would say. So you get like
Oh,
from
okay.
1 to 3 Ikers every 3 maps. So yeah, it's,
Wait, you get
can
one
farm it for
altar
sure.
every 3 maps?
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I've just never farmed altars in Ruthless, so that's why I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I mean
because-
the problem with that is there's much less enemies, right? And it depends on like on the pack size too. So yeah, there's like multiplier, negative multiplier on top of negative multiplier, so it's hard to farm anything, which is cool. Try Ruthless, guys.
Man, it's
Really-
such a
Oh.
different game. That's just wild.
like I said, I had 2 playthroughs. Like once when I did the beta, I played to Act 5, and then right after I beat Act 5, right after I beat Act 4, like on the ascent on the way to Act 5, I died. I got slammed on by goats, leaping goats, and then I
Classic.
did another one where I played SRS, Elemental SRS on Necromancer all the way to Kitava, and then like just stopped after I beat Kitava before I entered maps because I was like, I proved to myself I could play through the game. But honestly, SRS was too easy. It was just I had like 1 support gem. I think I had faster attacks on it or something like that. Like not even a good support gem for SRS, but it pays itself the build.
You need to go cleave or something along those lines.
I mean, that was my first try, right? I was like HCSSF Ruthless Ethical. It was the beta, but like,
Oh, it was?
originally I
Nice.
was like softcore trade beta because we're testing, right?
Yeah.
But then Zizarin started in HC, in Ruthless HC trade, and then everyone else went HC trade, and I was like, okay, now I can't not go HC trade because if I go softcore trade, no one's gonna trade with me, right? Everyone's
Right.
in hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I did Sunder Berserker.
Let's go. Very nice. Love it.
Nice.
But yeah, I got killed hard. So next time I'd probably do Juggernaut again. Jug is really good in Ruthless.
Yeah, so it
Probably
got
Chieftain
changed.
as well.
But
It got
yeah, I want
changed?
to mention that Berserker has like a special thing in Ruthless now. Berserker has a sentinel where like every time you war cry, nearby corpses explodes with 10% of their life as physical damage. So I'm actually trying to like collect all the items I want and those tattoos for cooldown recovery rate for war cries to make a berserker war cry explodey build. So it's
What
kind of
war
like
cry would you be using? Like, would you just run around enduring cry just for your own sustainability, or would you use the corrupting cry to also kill enemies with the physical damage over time? At the same
probably
time?
corrupting cry too, but I mean, I think I would just go for multiple war cries so that I could war cry like more, and maybe even you can. I mean, again, I'm thinking about the build for now, but maybe going poison because it's physical damage, so you can poison with that, right? So it's kind of like Val DD skill in a way, which you
Right.
cannot use supports for, but it explodes
Yeah.
all the corpses with 10% of their life. So that's something interesting there.
Is
That is.
10% enough to be good? I guess poison stacks infinitely, right?
Yeah.
Ignite, you can only have the highest ignite on, but with poison, you can put like 10, 20 poisons on the same enemy. Yeah, you should probably get good damage with it.
Also, all your increases still work on those explodes. 10%
Yeah,
explode is
secondary
a
damage.
very large number.
Just like a Totem Exploder build from previous league.
Yeah.
Same damage type, secondary damage. And by the way, something like we were talking about the Atlas, right? So I wanted to say about keystones, the new keystones on the Atlas. Most of them will also rebalance for Ruthless. There is some really interesting one that sounds even really good for non-Ruthless. For example, the 7th Gate keystone, because there is no like map device options in Ruthless. You cannot like force a league mechanic into a map. So this one provides actually one additional random prefix and a suffix to each map that you run. So each map has 2 extra affixes. If you have
Random?
all the 6
free?
gateway, like random.
So you put in a white map and it's basically like it's transmuted? Or
Or you put
Wow.
it like a red map and you have like 8 modifiers on it without even corrupting it.
But you could brick it, right? When you load in for your build.
you could definitely could
I mean, if you play
roll mods.
HC, then you might get something you don't want to have.
Right. That's interesting.
And there is also like another keystone that is right next to 7th gateway. So in normal league, it makes it so that the league mechanic you use from map device has 3 extra notables on it from this league mechanic, right?
Yep.
And in Ruthless, because again, there is no map device options, it's just every map that you put, it has 3 additional random notables that are not allocated on your Atlas yet. And I actually have it multiple times already. Like, I don't know what's the chances of that, but I randomly got the note from Breach that has 2% chance in Ruthless to add 10 additional breaches to the map. Like, I would randomly have 3 maps already with 10 breaches on it in Ruthless. Kind of like for free as well. That felt super
Yeah,
nice.
that's crazy.
Somehow I never rolled a single time the Rogue Metamorph. Never had a single Rogue Metamorph. I don't know how I get so lucky. Like, I'm a little bit afraid of randomly get destroyed by a Rogue Metamorph all of a sudden, but overall, pretty fun.
That is
to be
really
excited
cool.
about.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think you could put those in non-ruthless, and I think people would take them, especially the. Do you think the 2 mod one? I think so. Extra juice
Yeah, I think it would be really
for free.
really
1
good
point.
for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But isn't the 7th gate really good, like the way it is in regular league right now anyway, because of
I think so.
because it allows you access to options that are not on the map device
Right,
this league.
everyone.
You can like force heist, right, and make money by selling contracts and blueprints.
Low key, I hate it.
You hate it?
I'm
It's too much
actively using it
investment
right
to get
now.
the.
So boring.
Okay.
No, I'm using it right now. But they just completely homogenized every single league forever moving forward when it comes to map mods.
Oh right, I remember us talking about it
Chirac
beforehand.
mods
That was
don't
your
matter
biggest-
anymore. What roles doesn't matter anymore. It's just I get I get 6 Atlas passive points back if you put the right thing on, and if you don't put the right thing on, then I spend 6 extra passives. Okay, nothing changes anymore. I don't like it. I wish they never did that.
I totally
Yeah,
see
I
that
guess,
point
but-
with it taking away the identity. Please go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that in SSF, like if you don't have the essences on map device, it's so painful. So I don't know. I just love it. Like if it's 7th Gatestones, if it would provide just extra essences to the map device, would be like super welcome.
Right. Sure. So we got a little bit of time left. Should we talk about the big release on the horizon, somewhere distant in the future, but not too far away to be unrealistic? Like we all know it's coming and it's coming closer. PoE 2 is on the horizon. How do you guys like what we've seen of the game so far? Do you think it's going to cater to your style of play more, Tati, than the current game?
For sure. I mean, we've seen so many ruthless elements in PvE2. I think it's amazing the way they design everything in PvE2. Actually, I'm a big fan of like every single change pretty much they announced so far. I think everything looks awesome. Maybe I sound like a fanboy, but yeah, I do love everything. Like I can't wait to play that.
Okay, immediately, do you like the gold? Did you play Ruthless with gold
Oh,
earlier? Did you like that element? Like, that's the only thing that I seem kind of skeptical about. If it evolves differently than how they're posing it. Because they're saying, oh, gold is just an early game thing. It's not going to be used in the end game. Great, that'd be awesome. I think PoE, one of the big things that makes it awesome and stand out among other ARPGs is the fact that all trading is done in actual, crafting items and currencies, not gold. I would hate to turn into another game, where you just have like billions and billions of gold that you're using to do everything, and it just homogenizes everything. Would not want that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know
well,
Ruthless had a gold event.
Yeah, so I didn't like Ruthless with gold. Yeah, I
Well,
didn't like implementation we had there
okay.
either. But I do have a huge belief into like 5 head minds of developers from GGG. I know
Yeah.
they will make it really good. I mean, what we saw from like ExileCon
Yeah.
demos, it also kind of seemed weird to see the gold there. I think just kind of like mechanically picking up gold didn't feel like good enough. Maybe some sounds, some like animation of that just didn't look cool enough. The icon in the inventory itself looked like not cool enough, and it was like stacks of 5,000 maximum too. Also
Yeah.
not cool. Like maybe like a separate window for this. So yeah, I think there's like a lot of things they would have to do to iterate on the gold to make it actually good. But I do believe it will happen.
Right.
So in regards to the gold, I haven't played the Ruthless with gold, and I personally, from the sidelines, without having played it myself, just watching some people play it and reading the people feedback, I thought the Ruthless with gold was basically just Ruthless without Sanctum, right? Because they also did that in the end of Sanctum League, right? And then you just played Ruthless, but you didn't have access to Sanctum. You're basically playing standard Ruthless, but then you have gold on top of it.
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all, but I can really get behind the design goal of gold for PoE 2.
Okay.
Because with the benefit of the Q&A that they did in the park and all that, like Jonathan really made an effort to emphasize that the gold is not going to replace the bartering economy that we have currently in PoE 1. The design goal is not that people all do their trades in gold all of a sudden.
Please no.
Gold is supposed to be a universal currency for your interaction with vendors during the act and early mapping predominantly. And the idea is that a lot more of your gear upgrades come from the vendors, that the vendors offer you hypothetically better items that could be better for your build, and that there's a little bit of a shift of where upgrades come from during the playthrough. That is like less pressure on the drops on the ground for you to be actual upgrades, but that with the gold you can turn your gold gains into the upgrade that you need via the vendors.
Balor's been making faces. I want to hear what he has to say.
It just seems overall PoE2 very happy about. It looks pretty good. It's much what we've been shown is much slower than how I like to play, but I don't expect that to be a problem. They always show us slow footage. I don't see a world where they slow the end game down so much that I don't enjoy it. I don't think that's a real concern. So I'm not worried about any of that. I think it's going to be great. Gold is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand. There's only 2 outcomes. Either they're right and they stick to it, and it only affects the early, like day 1, day 2, used to upgrade from the vendors, and then it's a worthless currency that we turn off in our filters, in which case, why even do it?
You don't need to turn it off on your filters. It's auto pickup in PoE 2.
Well, it's taking a fucking slot in my inventory right now, so better goddamn not be. I don't know what to tell you. But other than that, either that, and then it becomes irrelevant, in which case, why do it? Or it's more meaningful than that, in which case, why is there gold? What?
Well,
No, please no.
again,
I really love the barter system. Please no.
again, I think that the primary idea is to take off pressure off of the monster drops. Right now, you have this insane pressure. For example, when you're playing most builds, you want an attribute amulet really early on, and that always costs a transmute from the vendors. Now, if you only found one transmute, are you going to transmute the white boots that you found in order to gamble for movement speed, or are you going to spend that transmute on buying an amulet, right? And obviously, everyone's going to buy the amulet.
Choice. Now you've got a choice.
Yeah, but you also get interesting choices with how you spend your gold. It doesn't compete with the crafting currency for your items. That's what I'm saying. I think that's my idea. That's just what I inferred. This is not information I got from a Q&A or anything.
It's also a lower bar for entry. And we'd all be silly if we didn't acknowledge that they're going to try to get a huge new audience when PoE 2 comes out. Gold is it's so simple.
A lot easier to understand.
Oh, it's global,
when you come
right?
into the game.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, honestly, that might be one of the biggest things. You know, at ExileCon 2, I think it was telling that to an audience that's primarily, you know, a lot of Path of Exile players, when gold was dropping, they didn't make a big deal about it, you know? They didn't really focus on it. I think they forgot to. I think they might have said that they forgot to or something. But I don't think it's for us or anybody who's playing PoE now. I think it's for anyone who starts playing in the future. And they need a simple thing that they can understand, like, oh, there's gold. There's a vendor. Ooh, I can buy items from vendor with gold. That's it. I do like the orb system too. I totally agree, Balor. And it gives you more choices, right? You need to make more decisions, and that's very interesting. Gold removes some of the choices, some of the thinking. And in some ways, that is good. You know, if you have to think less, especially at the very beginning of the game, it does help players progress and will probably retain more people so that they can get hooked into the currency trading at the end game. With divine orbs and exalts and, you know, scarabs, shit like that. Yeah, it'll be good.
If it works out like that, I'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
it's an if.
If it's not something that's going to affect me, then why do I care? Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's something that I'm only going to care about on day 1 or day 2 of a league,
right?
If it helps new players, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the case, can we also not have it in my inventory, please? Just that can't be in my inventory, and you can't do that. Please don't do that to me. I'll be so upset. You don't understand.
I'd very much like if there was like a separate thing, like just like with Azurite and Delve, right? Azurite, you auto pick up, it doesn't take up a slot in your thing. And early on, there's some meaningful progression that you can do with Azurite. And once you're past a certain point, all you do with your Azurite is stack it up and spend it on resonators. And that's all I want for gold is it to be very impactful in the early game, early mapping, and then later on, there's like 1 or 2 things that you can still do with it that's not completely useless, but it doesn't occupy a whole lot of your interaction with the game. But I think it's better than having transmutes and alterations, especially early on for the interaction with the vendor, because one thing I always notice new players do is like they want to identify everything. But if you sell only identified items, you never get transmutation shards outside of drops for transmutation orbs, and then you'll be lacking the technically lower value currency because you're getting a lot of alteration shards that combine into alteration orbs, but you'd never have the transmutes, which are in theory worth less, but you need them for crucial purchases from the vendors early on, and that's something very unintuitive that I suppose like a lot of new players are stepping into that trap.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think they also were trying to fight against like too much loot dropping in general. I mean, they're really fighting against it like for a while, and like I'm not sure how like what loot filter will have in P2, but so as far as this do, the gold is to like replace some trash loot that would normally drop from a mob. Yeah, but still, so something actually drops, so you feel rewarded for killing it. But so yeah, like quite often in the demo from ExileCon, we would see them only dropping like gold for like 3 from 3 screens of killing mobs. Just some gold, and then we get like a support gem or a white base. So yeah, I think they like that's as a replacement for a trash white or blue item you would get. You get some gold that you could actually spend to vendor. Like I get that, especially because the loot is Ruthless-like. I mean, like we get much less loot in PoE2. It definitely makes sense because right now in PoE2, like I sometimes run a map, I pick up 1 rare. Period. There you go.
Yeah.
So with gold, I guess I would have something to be excited about.
Yeah, because like now in a regular playthrough, you kill a boss and you get like 2, 3 rares and a bunch of blue items, and then you have to identify them all or like keep some unidentified. So you get the transmute, you have to vendor them, and then you have like a little bit of currency that you can work with. But I find it much better to have like more sparing drops of those higher tier items like magic and rare items, so that they feel more impactful when you do drop them. And then also when you have the gold and you buy it from the vendor, it feels like something special because you get mostly white and blue items, right? And then you can buy a rare from the vendor while leveling. I think that's good.
Okay. This is kind of cool. This might be niche. Maybe nobody else gives a shit. But if gold continues to drop and it does nothing, and it has an infinite cap, I can use it to track how successfully I'm killing massive amounts of mobs.
Right.
Like how much just in general is my strategy dropping? Well, I get about this much gold per hour. And even though it's not worth anything, I can use it to compare quickly how big a difference in a strategy happens. Because if the strategy is something like trying to drop apothecary cards, or even something less so, like Brothers Gifts, you need hundreds of hours to represent a minor change in whether it was better or not, and you need to track them in a spreadsheet. But if everything is dropping gold, within 2 or 3 hours, you've got a pretty good idea of whether you're overall dropping more or overall dropping less. So that could be a cool use for it.
I'm not sure whether gold was actually an act-only drop or whether it continues to drop in maps.
I don't know either.
But I'm also not sure. There might be, endgame Atlas passive points that allow you to turn your gold drops into other drops, or like modify how much gold drops in some way, shape, or form. Although we don't know anything about the endgame of PoE 2 yet, right? They've said as much as, the endgame will likely be mapping. But as for what system binds those maps together, they've said it's likely not going to be, same as the PoE 1 Atlas. They're probably going to go with something completely different there.
I have one hot take on that. I think that whatever mapping system they're going to do, they're going to have mods. You roll your maps, right? The mod pools, I think, are going to be split out by monster and boss in PoE 2. Like, can you imagine one of the PoE 2, any PoE 2 boss that we've seen so far with the modifiers given to PoE 1 map bosses? Like, how could you ever fight that? How could you ever fight, like, the, I don't know, that pirate boss that does all those random abilities? If he has, like, turbo. 60% faster attacks, 60% lower cooldown. Like, can you imagine that? I feel like they're going to have the same pool of mods for regular monsters and the map itself, and then there's going to be a subsection where your boss can roll certain mods too that improves the boss drops, changes how the boss fights. I think that'd be a really cool improvement. I don't know how that would work rolling.
Separate set of affixes for
I think so.
For bosses and monsters.
Right? Because you can't buff, your bosses in all the ways we can.
Kind of have it already, right?
Sorry?
Some modifiers only affect bosses on maps. So
Unique
if it was like separate.
Yeah, but they take up the same affix slot as like the regular map.
Yeah. Separate slots for like boss affixes and monster affixes on the map. Yeah, cool idea, Try.
Yeah. I think that'd be super, super cool. I feel like that would be an almost GGG-esque innovation. They always come up with stuff that nobody really thinks of, but ends up being really cool. Like Hinocorus Lock. I've never seen that idea really pitched before, but what a cool concept, right? I feel like they're going to keep continuing to roll out those ideas.
A one-step Eternal that you can only use once, basically.
Yeah, and it turns your items purple.
Yeah,
but you don't have to actually apply the currency. You don't actually have to fail the craft in order to find out that you need to reset the step.
I feel like that's going to happen a lot, right? With PoE 2 and the future of PoE 1. And I'm really excited for it. I've had a lot of doomers in the comments of my videos. I've made a lot of PoE 2 content. I've had a lot of doomers, unfortunately. I think it's going to be excellent, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Like, Zibi is saying that in chat right now, that Ziz has been asking for years for boss only modifiers that maps could roll. So for
Oh.
example, if Exarch Ball Phase would like spiral out from the middle rather than like going in a grid from top.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Right.
So like fundamentally that's very cool. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just thinking
Yeah,
of
something
your
that
generic
fundamentally
map.
changes how the boss works.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That'd be crazy. I'd like that more with like a specific, similar to how we had the sentinel, the unique sentinels that would like empower specific maps.
Right.
I would like that as like a currency item specific to that map or that boss that you put into the map device with
Right.
the map.
Well, this is so I was so confident and I was silly about this that 3.22 was going to be an Atlas League. And I thought,
same.
what can they add to the Atlas passive skill tree? Jewels. I thought, okay, jewels they could add to the tree, and jewels could do that. They could work like relics, unique relics do in Sanctum, where they're actually consumable. So you can socket a jewel into your tree, and it will fundamentally change some aspect of a boss fight or the Atlas. Like, I think an example I had was, the Eater of Worlds has, 50% more life, 50% more damage, more attack speed, whatever, some modifiers to it. And you have a 10% more chance to drop like ashes or something. And it's consumed after you open up that map. So you have like one attempt. It would really have to drastically change the fight if you could deterministically get these powerful items. But I think that would be a cool way to do the jewel system, because if we do it, if we just go back to watchstones, those were essentially jewels for your Atlas, right? The rollable watchstones. I don't know if we want to go back to that era.
Nah,
Did people like those? I didn't like those.
I didn't.
No, but like with all the different things that we have to customize our characters'
Right.
skill tree, right? We have the radius jewels, right?
Yeah.
The timeless ones. We got the
Abyss.
cluster jewels. We got tattoos now. We got abyss jewels.
Cluster
We got-
jewels. Cluster jewels on your Atlas tree. What could those
Yeah,
even
exactly.
be?
Like one of those methods of customizing your tree has to sooner or later make it into the Atlas passive tree, right?
I feel like
They
it's
can't
jewels.
get around that.
Jewels were the first addition to the PoE's passive skill tree in like the closed beta or whatever. I feel like that's going to be the same for the Atlas tree. I don't know what they'll look like, but
They have to give them out, like they have to be unique only and give them out as a reward for boss kills or something like that.
I think so.
Not make them rollable. Like we don't want Watchstones 2.0.
Please
I don't
no.
want
Where people sit
2,000
in the
ults to
hideout
get
and-
this thing.
Stop. Don't even say that. I hate it.
I literally am wearing gloves because my hands hurt. Please don't make me roll 2,000 alterations. Like, please, actually.
Are those going away in PoE 2? I can't remember. Alts are those one of the ones gone?
A lot of things go away. I think
Right?
alts are
No,
not
I
going
remember.
away, but they're going to
It's
be
not
less
alts?
frequent. Like I think alts work essentially the same, but they've shown us the chaos orb that works completely different now. You don't spam
Add
it anymore,
remove.
but like, add remove.
Yeah.
And the way that jewelers work in PoE 2 is also a lot less spammy, a lot less RNG. The way that chromatics work is a lot
Yep.
less spammy, a lot less RNG. I'm led to believe that they also significantly changing or removing chance orbs, right? They're removing a lot of those spammy crunch the numbers mechanics, if I can call it like that, where you really had to go into the thousands.
Yeah.
And also, like, I mean, that's also one of the worst things about PoE 1 that they're changing there for PoE 2 is the fact that when you get an upgrade, like a hypothetical upgrade, you find a new chess piece with amazing stats, you're like, yeah, but it's going to have to replace my 6 link, so I'm going to have to roll the colors and roll the sockets and then link it, and there's so much RNG involved, whereas in PoE 2, you basically are guaranteed to upgrade your gem to X amount of support sockets with the jeweler's orb of the relevant size. Right? They're going to be a lot less frequent, but they're specific. You get a lesser, a normal, and a larger jeweler's orb for like 3, 4, and 6 links, 3, 4, and 5 support gem slots on your skill gem. But then also the support gem slots are on your skill gem. So you only need to socket one gem into the new chest piece. You don't have to re-roll the sockets in a significant way. And like most of the RNG is eliminated as well, because the way that chromatics work now is you take your item to a bench, you pay a fixed amount of chromatics for a specific outcome. Right, so I think that's a step in the right direction. And I mean, obviously, PoE 2 is still a gambling simulator in many areas, just like PoE 1. But taking it away from those things, I think, is the right move.
Yeah. Another hot take, I think Tantiental probably would agree with me here. I think the Flask system in PoE 2 looks better than PoE 1's Flask system.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I
Okay,
agree.
so here's
Valor's
the
not
idea.
not a fan of the well.
The end goal of PoE 1's Flask system is to get rid of your flasks, essentially.
Yes.
You don't do anything with that. So is that what people want? Do people just want no flasks?
Yes.
No life. Is that that's what you want?
I wanted to not do this.
Okay, but that's not what they're doing in PoE 2. They're intentionally removing the. It's all reactionary, right? I think that's far better.
Yeah,
It's another.
you're
It's a
probably
defensive
right.
layer,
You're
right?
probably right. I think that's a good move. It's gonna be real bad for me because I am woefully bad at video games. The only reason that I do so well is because I know a ton and I play a degenerate amount of hours. If you make reactionary things, I'm not going to be able to react in time. Like all of my success in PoE comes from having a high amount of knowledge and a degenerate amount of time. Like that combination can get you so far in a game that you are otherwise trash in because I'm not a good player. You give me a bunch of reactionary flasks, and what I've got is no defense because my brain doesn't work that quick.
Oh no. Well, hopefully you still will be able to optimize your way out of that, but I think that's the right direction. I don't know if we need 5 though. Why do we need 5? Like all the demos where they have 4 life flasks and 1 mana flask, just pack all that life into 1 flask. Like what is I don't get that. Especially if there's only going to be a few different flask types. Say again?
And then give me 2. If you're going to make it all reactionary, nothing auto, not part of the build, but instead a reactionary defense thing. 3?
3, yeah, like it.
1 for life and like 2 utility flasks, and you're
exactly.
done.
I think
Something
so. Or
like
mana, if that's a thing in PoE 2. I'm not sure.
It might
or
be
spirit.
A thing.
The Spirit is not going to be a flask resource. So the thing that
It
they're doing
won't.
with Spirit is that they're splitting it off from mana so that it doesn't compete with mana because they've always wanted to make mana relevant. And like you said, with the flasks is like the correct way to make a build is to make it so that mana is not a factor at all.
Okay, so yes, so that won't be a flask at all. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Here's what might be a hot take. Not just in PoE, but in no game ever that I've ever played in my entire life have I ever enjoyed having to manage mana. Ever. It's never been fun in any game. It is an obstacle to overcome, and I might feel good about myself when I don't have to deal with it anymore, but I have never enjoyed having to deal with it. Mana
you play
is
League
a
of Legends,
shit
right?
system,
Don't you feel like
everybody should stop using
you
it?
play League of Legends, so don't you feel like there's a sort of rewarding moment to you managing your mana well when you exactly have the amount of mana that you need to do a combo to clear a jungle camp
Not at all.
Gank someone?
This is why I play jungle, because I have infinite mana in jungle. A jungle item gives me all my mana back. I don't have to deal with that shit. That's the reason I'm a jungle. That's legitimately the reason I'm a jungle man, by the way. Because fuck mana.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, guys. If you queue with Balor Mage, don't expect to get a blue buff when you're playing it.
No, I don't need them. The jungle item does that.
Oh, the jungle item, right. I haven't played League
So
of
Balor
Legends.
Mage, if not mana, then what? Would you like cooldowns?
So there's a lot of different things. There are some cooldown based stuff. There's builder and spenders, which are fun when done correctly, but aren't done correctly most of the time. I hate builders and spenders the way they're generally done.
Okay.
But I think builders and spenders are some of the best when they're done correctly. So for instance, Lost Ark, I forget the class.
Okay.
But I forget what class it is because it was a long time ago. But in that game, you're forced into almost building into 2 separate trees for different abilities, and there are abilities on the red side and abilities on the blue side.
Okay.
Both abilities are spenders. You don't feel like a builder-spender system. It feels like I've got this ability and I can spam it for a bit, and then I would be able to spam this one for a bit, or I can change between them, as if you do nothing, it like whirls back to the middle. And if you fill the red bar up, you can't spend red anymore because it's full. You have to spend blue to spend it, but it would default back to the middle. But it doesn't feel like a builder-spender system.
Because you have multiple choices.
Yeah, there's multiple choices on both sides, and both sides feel like spenders. They're different abilities that are good to use. It's not like sit there and auto attack 3 times so that I can maul once. It's a real separate resource system where both sides feel good. I love when builder spender systems are set up like that, where my builder doesn't
Interesting.
feel like a builder, it feels like a real skill. And now
Uh-huh.
I've got a management system.
Right.
I like that. And
No, I think that's a good point.
there are a bunch of other systems, and I'm not saying all mana should go. There are classes and builds that using mana as a resource makes sense. Like when I make an Archmage build in this game, dealing with mana feels good, right? As I get my mana regen upgrades and as I get a larger mana pool, things feel good. But it's the default everywhere in all games, and 95% of the time, it's not really the answer. And mana is a terrible resource, and it shouldn't be the default. It should be used when it makes sense for the thing you're doing. It shouldn't be the default everywhere, and it's the default in every game. And I've got a little bone to pick with every single person who can't be creative enough to think of something that isn't mana for the goddamn game. I hate mana, man.
I think mana is just like a blanket term for these systems, and like I mean, they all work very different in the different games. The only thing that mana has in common is the name and the blue color, basically. But I mean, people are technically coming up with different solutions to the problem, right? Like I mean, mana in League of Legends is not the same as mana in PoE. Obviously, they're different games, but like even between LE and PoE or D4, mana works very differently, right? So I argue that they are different systems. They're just similar in name. But what I wanted to say is, I lost it. Tati, do you got any gripes with what we've seen from PoE 2 so far, or anything that we haven't seen yet, which you would like to see in one of the upcoming reveals?
Yeah, you guys talk about like how would you improve the different systems? It's like you try to apply for a job at GG right now, or what? Like I'm a gamer, I'm not game developer, so I can tell like if I like something or no. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, like very little was said about the end game. Yeah, we like everything they talk about is campaign related, so that's a little bit, I mean, a little bit scary, I guess. Or, I mean, and for some reason, they're not being asked these questions either about end game much. I'm not sure why that happens, but yeah. So this is like the only concern, I guess. We have
There is no
idea.
way. There's no way we'll have a game that will not be named situation, you know, with GGG. I think they understand their audience so well. There's no way they've launched this game that they've spent, 5 years now? It's going to be 6 years developing. Mm-hmm. They're not rushing it. I think that we're going to have essentially the Atlas to start, and that's going to be built out very similar to what we have now with a fresh coat of paint on it. It's going to look beautiful.
It's going to be diametrically opposite. I think it's going to be completely different.
Oh, I hope somebody had a really cool idea that maybe it's not going to be us going to different worlds, you know, right, on the Atlas, but instead, people have been begging for it for a decade. We're going to go to different maps and islands via a boat. So the end game will be us on a boat traveling from map to map.
No, but that's already
like
Act 4 because Chris has been asked about Boat League, and he says Act 4 is essentially Boat League.
But what if the end game is also an entire boat league, right? We go across the world, right? We can go anywhere we want.
Okay. I don't know. So I'm gonna plug a different podcast.
Ooh.
But I was listening to Forever Exiled.
Great podcast.
Just this morning. Fantastic podcast I listened to on Spotify. It's PoE related. If anybody hasn't seen it, look into it. It's good. Guys are great. And they were talking about having talked to Chris and Jonathan at wherever the hell it is that they live.
PAX West?
Just recently. Yeah, PAX West. And while the details are a little fuzzy, it was let slip there that some of the end game things, instead of going to maps, will be returning to ever-changing zones that we used to level in, except they'll be scaled up, like there'll be relevant end game stuff happening in where the acts are. But those will also change, as well as shit like there's a particular act where there's like 5 different ways that you could go, but you only need to go 2 of those ways. And those 2 different ways you have to go will change every league. They'll be the same for everyone, but next league will be a different way to go, and the other islands might get used in the endgame that league. Like the other places in that act might be used in the endgame that
What?
league.
Interesting.
Now, the details I'm a little fuzzy on. They explained it better than I did because I just was casually listening to it while in transit.
Okay.
That is information from the most recent episode. So I just, that's worth a listen to. There's a bit more. There's quite a bit more information that they let out in that than just that.
Oh, cool.
But that was from literally yesterday's podcast. So that's worth a listen. If anybody hasn't heard of them before, give it a go. But yeah, there's some cool, interesting stuff in there.
I'll have to give it a watch. Or listen. Sorry.
I don't know if I'm getting everything there accurate or not, right? Like I was in transit while listening and driving.
Well,
so I kind of understand that like something's happening there, but they explained it much better. Much better because they were actually there. So I'm just saying there's shit happening that's different.
So we kind of do that in PoE 1, right? Where every single map is an act map, right? With the act boss of the map, right? I hope it's not like an evolving world where, there's this story. I play different games if I want to go and like experience a new story once I finish the campaign in previous areas. I like that PoE, it's pretty separate. You finish the campaign, you're done. You're going into this brand new system, this brand new place via the Atlas, right? That'd be weird revisiting like the old act zones. Like, I don't know. Interesting. Like backtracking almost. I feel like that's...
To me, it sounded interesting.
Oh, Zivi. He's correcting you, Balor.
Oh.
No, it was just a joke. I thought it was worth
Oh.
Valor zoned out during the podcast, and it turns out they were just talking about the transport systems in their city.
They talk a lot about lawn care, right?
They do.
Right? I think I've listened to a few episodes. Yeah. Got some good tips.
Lots of lawn care advice.
Excellent.
It's important information.
Yeah.
Again, don't take anything I just said there as like fact. That was some definite like secondary listening. I just know there's some interesting shit. I'm also like only 20 minutes into it, so like I plan on listening to more of it.
Oh, you got me though. I'm going to listen to it today. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that part is actually the one aspect of PoE 2 that I'm most excited about, is that they're very aware that people burn out of the act playthrough and of the leveling, and that I'm pretty sure they're going to try and make the most flexible leveling experience ever, that they're going to make the acts so opposite of linear. What's the opposite of anti-linear? Non-linear?
Freeform, non-linear.
Freeform.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first act is still going to be relatively linear, with like maybe
Right.
one or two decisions where you can change the order of the acts. But I mean, again, I show it for the fourth time. The act 4, where you can decide in which order you visit the islands, and
Yeah.
I think that's what you'd refer to right now, Balor. With like that's the act where you have to only do
could
2
be
out of
that
the
act.
5 islands probably, and the other 3 you might be able to visit later for something, for some quests or some endgame level stuff. I don't know. I went to Journey's End. Actually, Balor, how much did you play of the PoE 2 gameplay demo at ExileCon?
Not nearly enough.
Well, do you give all classes a go, or?
No. I went once on each day. I did a bit of whatever the witch was, whose name I can't remember.
Sorceress.
Whatever the ranger was, whose name I can't remember.
Huntress.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I did a tiny bit of the
warrior
or the
thing, shadow thing.
Yeah, warrior.
Yeah.
Oh, I also did a tiny bit of the monk, so I guess I played a little, but not enough.
So
it feels like I needed
all
10
4
hours.
classes that were available. I did play
needed
only
10 hours,
the warrior.
actually. I might have played everything a little. My bad. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did play twice, but it didn't feel like enough. It felt like I barely scratched the surface and was like, time's up. And I'm like,
you got like 40 minutes, right? Every playthrough, or 30?
It felt like 8 minutes.
Yeah, same.
That's good.
I only got to play 25 minutes, and I had to wait in line for like 3 hours almost the first time I played, and then later during the day I was actually able to get into the queue when it was already closed, so the queue was relatively short, but at the same time they were still like admitting people for a last round of playthroughs. It was actually kind of nice. But yeah, so I played the Druid earlier in the day. Druid feels amazingly OP in the context of the demo, like is really strong with all the stuns. Rory told me that there's no actual defensive benefits, right, when you transform into the bear. But you just feel so strong because you stun everything. But there's like you're not more tanky than the natural human form of the Druid.
Interesting.
And you're not as tanky as the warrior, but you feel more tanky because effectively you take less damage because bear form is just guaranteed stuns. I think it's a little bit OP and they need to nerf it. But I mean, for a first playthrough, obviously I wasn't expecting a fully balanced game for an early gameplay demo of PoE 2.
Yeah.
So very fun. I walked through the prison, through the Eternal Prison here in Act 4 with the Druid. It was the zone that Mathel also played, right?
Did you die on the first pack like he did?
No, I actually didn't die a single time on the Druid until I got into the
nice.
boss. And I also got the boss down to like 20%-ish before my time went up. But I did die to the boss like in the first attempt because I just didn't know how the boss works. It's a very obscure thing. Like you get him down to 66% and he starts getting into a stasis and healing up. And when he does that, you need to push one of the levers on the side of the arena to impale him with a spear, which interrupts his recovery. But then he pulls the spear out of his chest and he starts whacking you with the spear.
So badass.
It's so cool. The design is amazing, right? But I didn't fully get it the first time I played it. So I failed that one. But then later on, when I played the Warrior in Act 4, and I went to Journey's End, and I fought Captain Heartland, the pirate boss with the spinny wheel mechanic. Gambly, super spot on the theme. I love the boss. And with sweaty fingers and like high heart frequency, I managed to get it down with like 1 minute left on the timer. I did, though, shame on me, Balor. I did port out once during the fight and click the well in the town.
I don't see there's a problem. But by the way, just now that you've mentioned the well, get fucked. Actually eat me. I just refresh my flasks. There's no way you want me to click a well in town. It's
just
free,
play Pathfinder.
It's always there. Don't make me go find a well and click on it. That's stupid.
Well, Flask are gonna be different though, so we don't know how often you'll have to do this, and maybe it will feel like more rewarding to do this as well. So
it's never gonna feel
like a different
rewarding
system.
to have to click a well to refresh my flasks.
Yeah, it is the case
That's
already in
like-
Ruthless, so that's what I do every time. I mean, I forget about that all constantly. So I run like triple Quicksilver to not be as slow in Ruthless, right, without trail skills. And, like I enter a map, I always have my Quicksilver full like down. Like I don't have flat charges,
Yeah, no.
so I have to kill them all.
There's one person who really likes that idea. I forget which one of them it is. It's one of the important people. They love
Jonathan.
it. Is it Jonathan?
I think it's Jonathan, yeah.
All right. He loves it. I get that you love it. I understand. You're wrong. No one else likes it. We're not doing it.
I'd like to think it's Chris. Chris is the one who talks about the weight of things, right?
I don't know, man, but
Jonathan's the one who constantly
anyone enjoying it.
He's the one who's
sorry. On the bright side, yeah, we do have to click a well in order to refill the flask, but we do get an NPC who identifies all our items.
win.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna save you more time than the extra time that you spent clicking the well.
And you still get flask charges from killing monsters, just not all monsters now.
Here's the thing, though.
And not
it's
white
not,
ads
it's
and
not going to
buff
save me more time than clicking a well, because it's going to be 2 years from now, and I'm still going to forget to click the well.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be like passive skills on the passive skill tree.
That's gotta be the best, dude. Like you look for an opening during the boss fight, so you can have that 2-second portal animation, right? And then you portal out, you portal in again. And you're like, now I'm gonna get it down. Oh shit! I forgot to press the well. I don't have any portals anymore.
Oh.
You get used to it quickly, I'm telling you. I mean, whenever I switch from like non-Ruthless to Ruthless, yeah, for the first like few days, I forget like I mean, when I portal specifically for flasks, like I don't forget about that. It just when it doesn't really matter. Of course, I forget before the start of the new map. But yeah, so it's gonna be fine.
It just means that the no matter what the endgame mapping is, The rotation is you come out of your map, you find a vendor, you ID your shit, you vendor it, you put it away, then you go find the Flask well and press it, and then you go over to the map thing and launch a new map or whatever the end game thing is. And there's just no reason for that extra step. It doesn't do anything. Nobody likes it. It's a waste of time. There'll be two groups of people that adjust to it quick enough and don't care, and people who really fucking hate it, and no one benefiting. There's no upside. There's just people who are pissed off and people who don't care, and no one super excited for that. No one. That's
Wait, I got a better one. I got a better one that I'm annoyed with. Okay, so one of my biggest gripes with PoE 1 is that there's some quests that work in a smart way, where if you don't do the things leading up to the quest in the right order, or you forget something, the quest adapts and gives you different text or like different, works slightly differently. Mm-hmm. But there is exceptions to that. And that specifically the biggest stick out there is Clarissa in Act 2. After you defeat the guard captain, technically Clarissa is freed. But unless you specifically talk to her, she won't spawn in town. Not even after you try to rescue Tolman, you bring Tolman's amulet back into town, and Clarissa's not standing there. Then you need to go out back into Sarn and talk to Clarissa just so she spawns in town, so you can hand her that amulet, so you can get the key to the sewer, right? And I've always been like, why don't you just eliminate that step, that extra step? I mean, I've already killed the guard captain. I've technically freed her. Why do I need to talk to her for her to spawn in town? And they're doing the same thing in PoE 2 again. I was sure they were going to avoid that in PoE 2, but when I played the demo 2 times Act 4, second time I played the demo, right? Warrior, after I've already played the Druid, so I skip all the fluff, right? I directly walk to the boat with the NPC who's going to bring me to the island, right? NPC won't bring me to the island. I walk back, I talk to Rog. Rog won't talk to me and send me to the NPC unless I talk to Alva first. So I go to Alva, Alva sends me to Rog sends me to the NPC, and that ships me out. But if I go to the NPC first, the NPC will never offer me to bring me to any of the islands. And it's like, why do I get punished as someone who already played it? Like with the additional knowledge, you get punished by going the shortcut, going directly for playing the game, and then I have to go back to the other NPCs and talk to them. That's what I didn't like, and I hope they're removing that.
I can't see that staying. With the way they optimize stuff, like you said, a lot of quests adjusting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a relic of the past with Clarissa in Act 3. Hopefully with PoE 2 they won't have that.
Yeah, what about also like the new lever pulling animation? Like, to open a door, you need to click on the lever and like go through this like 2-second animation. Like, how do we feel about that?
Please no.
Yeah, also no.
You know what? You can't pull levers as a bear. You have to transform back into a human in order to push the lever.
Do you need to click something in order to become not bear?
No, it automatically transforms. Like, so it's set up with your skills, similar to the tree and the weapon swap thing, where specific skills only work in druid form, specific skills only work in bear form, and some work in both, right? You can set it up.
I can't wait for someone to dive hardcore to this animation. Like, we start playing lever. Oh man,
it's gonna happen.
Actually, wait, can you roll?
It's like a year away. Those things feel like polished stuff that comes last.
As long as there's no like bloodstone shards, I think I'll be good.
They did confirm that that you can roll in bear form, but in the demo it was set up that the dodge roll is only to be used with the human form. So whenever you press dodge roll, you transform back into a human before you dodge. But I found that really good actually on boss fights because it allowed me to combo that in, right? So I got into bear form, melee'd around a little bit, then the boss telegraphed something, like tried to do an ability, and I dodged, went into human form, and that allowed me then to get my lightning storm and my cremation-like skill. That's called Volcano or something like that, but doesn't require corpses. And then I transformed back into bear, went back into melee while those spells were still lingering around and dealing damage. So it can work, I think. You will only be able to roll as a bear in town, something like that.
In town, yeah. That looks so cute.
It does.
It's amazing.
Oh, right. I completely missed that. Balor shared the picture for the Hinakora's lock on his belt.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, yeah? The beautiful mage blood.
Glowing.
Yeah, the purple coloring's really cool.
Is it animated, like influence, or is it just like a shading? I guess I haven't seen it. Or I guess I can open this picture instead of asking. Oh,
guess
here
I
it
can
is.
just- here.
It is
I need to zoom
animated.
in.
Oh, that's so cool.
Very nice.
Oh, that's not leaving, you guys. That's going core. They don't
Wait,
put
What's
that.
the
animated.
ring you're wearing? What is this ring?
One of
What
them's
the-
an MTX to Ventus Gamble,
Oh,
Yeah, it looks like a
okay.
Ventus Gamble MTX.
and the other one's a ring.
A ring? A Calamar
ring
ring.
ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about the Venters. Yeah, I didn't see this picture before.
Yeah, what is this? Is this like specific Ventus MTX out of the Kerex Vault Pass, or?
Yeah, it's called High Roller Ventus Gamble. I don't know where it came
Does it have
from. I
any
just have
like
it.
any extra interactions? Like any like
It lets you celebrate your luck whenever you pick up a unique item and blame the dice when you die. It just puts a little like
because
roll
Nice.
of dice thing when you pick stuff up. It's
I've
not.
seen the new helmet
It's
from
cool.
this week's Kerex Pass that like shows divination cards as like a 3D art when you
Yeah.
pop them, when you pop stack decks. That one's so cool. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think I was gonna buy Kerex Vault, but I actually might this league because it's
It's cool.
right. Well, we went a healthy amount overtime already. If you want to say something about the current game or the Path of Exile 2, one round of closing thoughts, anything, anyone, feel free.
I think the current game is in a great spot, even though there might be some detractors. I think the core game especially is in the best spot it has ever has been. If you want to play and just play Path of Exile, it's a lot of fun, no matter what level of investment you're doing. You know, me, like I said, just got my Uber Elder Void Stone. I have some friends who literally just hit maps. They're having a great time. We have Balor Mage here, who is MF farming, just blasting maps away, having a good time. And it's in a good spot. And I think when PoE 2 comes out, you know, next year, I know we're all thinking that, oh, it's not actually hitting, you know, for a year, 2 years, whatever. The beta is going to be the full game. It's essentially going to be out, right? They said the beta is going to be all the acts and the Endgame. That starts June 7th. So we will have access to PoE 2 very,
I
very
can't
soon.
imagine them implementing the end
don't-
boss of the last act, and like many bosses, they're probably gonna hold back. They don't.
You
want
think
to-
I don't
so?
remember them saying
They
that.
they said it's. I thought they said it's going to be the full game. Jonathan in the latest interview at Gamescom. It's going to be Endgame and all 7 acts.
The interview
with
with
everything.
the German creator Loipi,
Sorry.
the German interview with Loipi.
Yeah, that's the one that I listened to. Yep, it was excellent. And like I feel like they might even go and do what they did with PoE 1. Like they ran PoE 1 in closed beta and open beta for 2.5 years. They ran leagues during the beta periods. They might do that for PoE 2 as well, and just have it completely tested before it's fully released.
I
Right?
mean, I just remember the 3.0 beta, and there I think they only enabled Act 10 Kitava for the very last few days of the beta or something like that.
Really?
But
Okay.
You didn't have like access to all the content during the beta.
Some of it was blocked off. That
Well, they
would
wanted
make
to keep
sense.
Some stuff as a novelty for the league start race when they did full release. They didn't
Right.
want racers
Oh,
to
that's so
feel
cool.
compelled to practice in the beta everything, right?
Really?
Just
Oh, I didn't
some
know that.
degree
That's
of-
very cool.
They wanna
But
hold
just
back some.
overall, very excited for the direction of the game. I think we're in a really good spot, everybody.
I'm really excited
Yeah,
about them saying that we're going back to a 3-month league cycle after a year of like very irregular release intervals and all that. I'm very happy that they're back on track
Yeah.
for the 3-month schedule after all the pressure for ExileCon fell off. Well, excuses, I almost interrupted you there, Tati, or I did. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm saying that you can already play Alpha for PV2 if you just log into Ruthless. Yeah, I mean, like drop only support gems, all that, scarce loot, log in, boys.
But I want to play
mean,
melee.
It's more exciting. Play melee? No. Don't click Chieftain. Don't click melee. Okay. Like it's not in the alpha yet. This is gonna be in the
Okay,
game.
I got like an indirect quote there that I have to paraphrase, and I hope I'm doing it correctly. But there was a question about Chris's vision at the Q&A, and I used that for a follow-up question. I was like, everyone's referencing your vision, and there's like a big difference between like your actual vision for the game and what people meme about as Chris's vision for the game. And like, what would you say is the biggest misconception in the community about your vision? And Chris, again, I have to paraphrase it. I can't like quote it like verbatim, but Chris said something along the lines is like, people think we want to like take away the fun from the game by making drops more spares and like making the game like basically ruthless, but we're actually trying to do the opposite. We're not going to try and take away your good moments from the game, but we want to redesign the game in a way that those good moments feel actually better, right?
Yeah.
That when they happen, it's actually a better feeling, and it's easier to tell that it's a good feeling when something good happens, rather than like many things happening of various levels of meh. He just says he wants great moments in the game again, right? We're like really
That's
impactful.
exactly what I'm saying most of the time when people say why do I play Ruthless, because you get much more loot in Ruthless, and what I mean by that is that something that's actually like meaningful that drops for you happens and like gives you like a dopamine rush or whatever it's called, right? It's happens more frequently in Ruthless. Like in non-Ruthless,
Right.
at some point maybe you just only get this feeling where like, whoa, when you get a Divine Orb, I guess, or like, I don't know, Apothecary for Baylor Mage. But yeah, so in Ruthless, like every single rare ring that drops, everything else, scouting reports are crazy. Like, you ever appreciated scouting reports so much? I do appreciate them now so much. They help a lot. And yeah, so just like Chris said about the vision, it already to a certain extent exists in Ruthless. Yeah, like you get, in comparison to normal game, it's much cheater to lose, and because you play the normal game for a lot of time, it kind of like your brain doesn't accept that all this crap I drop is actually so cool. But yeah, if it was like a separate game like PvE2 will be from scratch, if you don't think about anything existed before, it's already pretty cool in Ruthless, and I'm excited for the PvE2 loot system. It's gonna be even more awesome.
I think that's a great closing statement. Valor, what are you looking forward in the next couple days? What are you doing? What's the next plan?
So far, this is probably the best geared Magic Find character I've ever made in my life. So I'm really enjoying that. But I have no idea what I'm going to do next.
Mysterious.
I'm going to be at the stage where I have too much money in the league for anything to matter, which is generally the stage where I start to limit myself and challenge myself intentionally. So that'll be either I might do something league mechanic related, or I might do some weird meme thing, or I might go to like a bunch of different 10 Divine challenge builds to like see what I can pull off that hasn't been done a lot and isn't already popular for 10 Divines or less. Or I might go into like a group found thing. Or like a solo self-found thing. I don't know. I'll do something. Because while I really like doing Magic Find and accruing disgusting amounts of currency, once I've got disgusting amounts of currency, I'm like, because like now I've done the thing, and like, what's the point in making another build and putting 2 mirrors into it? It doesn't matter what the build is. I spent too much money on it. It'll be good. Like so now you have to like move the mindset away from making money now that I have enough money for the rest of the league and onto how can I make this a challenge? So I'll probably be doing that after
HCSSF Ruthless Valor Mage.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge.
No,
all right.
Not Ruthless.
If viewers tune into twitch.tv/Tatiantil2, what can they expect to see in the next coming days? What are you working on?
Infinite amount of grind and Ruthless and a lot of pain. Pretty much. But
what's the current goal that you're working towards? That's what I mean. Like, what's the
current goal? Oh, I mean, the biggest upgrade for my current character right now would be a Tempest Shield. Like, I'm a block character. I still don't have Tempest Shield. I actually dropped for the first time ever in my Ruthless personal history Determination aura. Like, I never had it before. But Determination was nerfed. Like, it doesn't give flat armor in Ruthless anymore. So for that to be worth it, you have to have a lot of armor. And basically, that was the push where I actually decided to use my Omen, the treasure one, and I made my 6-link Brass Dome, which I really like now. my precious. But yeah, so basically, what I kind of have to do, right, in Ruthless is, do a little bit of everything every day. So I do some Alva Temples, some Blueprints, some Delving, some Tota. I probably forgot something too. And it kind of works the best, and it makes it really like dynamic. I really like it. I never get bored.
Get a decent amount of variety every time.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just having fun with Ruthless. I'm not sure actually. I never really can like plan what exactly I will do before my character dies in hardcore, and I have no idea when it dies. Every time I die, I'm like, wait, what am I doing now? I'm just sitting there on stream like for hours, not sure what to do. But yeah, now I actually have like idea of this Berserker Explode Warcry build that would be interesting.
Yeah, and
Maybe.
also I imagine you being a hoarder and with the HCSSF vibes, you always got like a ton of potential fallback builds in your stash, right? You always, when you stash something, you're like, oh, I could use this for that or that for that. And there's always like, but yeah, I know the feeling that before you die, you can't know what you do for sure, because you might
Yeah.
still be alive for like another 20 days or so and get like a lot of other stuff for potential other builds. Yeah, most importantly, also, guys, check out Talkative Tri's YouTube channel, where he does YouTube. How would you define your own content? I always say PoE video essays, because that's how it seems to me. Like you're just writing an essay, like a nice little narration of some cool stuff that happened in the past or in the present, and then you illustrate that with some video and some picture footage.
I think that's an excellent way to define it. I am not a build creator. I'm not a strategy maker. I saw that this wasn't being done in PoE, and this game has evolved so much since its inception in 2007 to what it is today. And our community is always bustling with something different that we can look at and analyze. So that's exactly what I do. I have that niche where I just look at a subject, discuss it, talk about what the community thinks, what I think, and I'm going to be doing that with kind of what we talked about here. The next video I have coming out, it's going to be Wednesday. It's the cautious excitement about Path of Exile 2. It's basically outlining all the fears that people have about this release. You know, the segmentation of the community even further than what it already is. You know, we already have like hardcore, softcore, ruthless, non-ruthless, solo self-found, trade league. And now we're going to have PoE 1 and PoE 2 versions of all that. Just all those discussion points, going to be talking about that. It's always good fun. And yeah, the flashback series too. It's crazy how much this game has evolved, and just the immense amount of content that they were pushing out, even in 2012, 2013, with a team, you know, that's a fraction of the size of what they have today working on PoE 2. It might actually be the same size of the team that's currently working on PoE 1. I don't know, but it's just great. So yeah, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, don't come to me for build advice. I'm really bad. Come to everybody else here. They're probably better resources, you know. I'm just there for entertainment and discussion. Really. I might throw out a few builds, you know, like my Infernal Blow Chieftain that failed gloriously, but that's it.
Actually, I think that's something that more people need to do more often. Is
Failures?
Like failed build videos. Like videos of like, I did this wrong, I played the wrong build, I picked the wrong build, this is what I could have done better or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna make something like that about my Reef
I think
Juggernaut.
Mathel does such videos, right?
Yeah, Mathel always makes a video about his build, no matter how good it went. But Mathel generally is like on such a level that like
He's so good.
Every build that Mathel plays
Doesn't
is like
fail very often.
yeah, he doesn't pick bad builds to play usually. I mean, some
Yeah,
builds
he'll-
are better, some builds are worse, but like none of them are like complete failures. He at least like farms your 16 maps and does some bosses with it.
Right. It'll be like, yeah, I couldn't clear, you know, all 7 Ubers. I only did 4 out of 7. So
Yeah, exactly. That's usually what he writes. When he
Yeah.
releases. Good. No, I wanted to just say that I watched your video this morning about can't compare Path of Exile to Diablo, or should we
Oh,
compare Path of
yes.
Exile to Diablo, the most recent one. And like what originally sparked my interest and where like you really won me over as a viewer was the video about the toxicity in the Path of Exile community and the radio silence as a result from PGG.
yeah, that was a
really-
lovely one to make and just go through. As someone who was in the community during that time and just watching what happened, you know, across the sphere and spectrum, just I don't know. It was a fascinating topic to look at, and I hope that I left it on a positive note, kinda. I hope we can get back to that. I know that, you know, a lot of you just went to Gamescom. 2 of you guys went to ExileCon as well. I know the vibe there is very positive, and you get to chat with the developers, and it's like what it was, you know, when I started playing. You know, when Bex and Chris and I think Jonathan and who's Viper-esque? Do you guys know who that is? Is
James
that
W.
Sorry?
James W. I mean,
James
he signed
W-
as James W. in my
James
book.
W. You know, all of them would just constantly be on Reddit and like interacting with the community and like jabbing at people and poking fun, and that's all disappeared, and it was just so sad. It's so sad to see. It sucks to see too. I hope we can get back to that with PoE too. I don't know if that's going to happen though. I think we're too big for that to
Yeah, I
occur.
think it's too big for that anymore.
Too many people. So
I actually talked to a number of GGG people, and I was like, "Hey guys, if you're ever into like opening up again a little bit and interacting more, we'd love to have you on our podcast." You know,
That's
whenever
awesome.
We can have someone, and someone told me that a big part of the radio silence is not the toxicity in the community. It's not like, yeah, they're saying like part of it is we're sending Chris so he can take all the you know the negative
right,
impact
yeah.
and shield the other people. But
Yeah.
another big factor they said was, well, everyone's been working on PoE 2, and we were not allowed to talk about PoE 2. So if we came on a podcast, what are we supposed to say, right? We
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
talk about the
What have
PoE
you been
1.
doing?
exactly.
98% of my work is private.
And yeah, can't talk about it. Well, that's really cool to see. I hope that that continues, you know, like seeing all this new footage and seeing Jonathan and, you know, already Jonathan, I think when he first started speaking in front of an audience, you could tell he was very nervous. Like Chris was, you know, all those years ago. I think he's already making improvements. So the more and more interaction he has, I think that's just going to be great.
On the whole, I think like ExileCon this year was so much better from on a production level and presentation level.
Yeah.
Than the first one. They really stepped up their game a lot.
Do you think there will be an ExileCon before the official release of PoE 2? Another one?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't
would
think
be
so.
too short
I
an
think it's
interval.
Too soon.
Too soon?
Also,
Yeah.
I don't think you can do a third ExileCon on Path of Exile too.
Yeah. That's going to be
It's-
PoE 2, what will it be? 2.0? PoE 2 2.0, is that going to be the release case, like, name?
I don't know, but yeah, I don't think there'll be another one beforehand. Honestly, if I could afford it, I'd go every year. I'd go if there wasn't a convention on, but 2,000 other exiles were also going. I'd
Yeah.
still go.
Yeah.
It was too good.
I hope they're coming back to Gamescom next year because it was really cool to have them right here in my vicinity, in my city, basically. Almost
Yeah, that's
neighborhood
awesome.
city. That was just great. We have to round things off, guys. Like people are I don't want to keep you here for too long. We've been aiming for 2 hours, but one more thing I need to mention is, obviously, for those of you who tuned in during the podcast and couldn't watch in full, this is obviously always available in full on the YouTube and on other podcast platforms. We recently started adding it on Twitter as well. So if you're like one of the X users, super hype X fans, you can watch the entire podcast in full on x.com. And Valor did a shout out. Yeah, Valor is hyped.
No, I'm sorry, that confused me because I was like, X users, so you want people who used to be on Twitter that aren't anymore to watch it on Twitter? And then I realized because they changed the stupid name.
Users of the
Right.
platform X.
Yeah.
You also did the shout out to Forever Exiled earlier, our
Yeah.
fellow Path of Exile community podcast with two amazing podcasters, Wrecker of Days and Tags. And I'm delighted to announce that Wrecker of Days and Tags are going to join us for a crossover episode in just a week from now. Sunday morning, 5 a.m. GMT. This month, and like I think it's 16th or 17th. Wait, Sunday is the 17th, right? Just to make sure that everyone, Sunday is the 17th, 5 a.m. GMT. I'm getting up even earlier than for this one, and we're gonna talk to Raker and Tags, and that's gonna be great.
Which is even more reason to check out their podcast this week before they're on, so
Exactly.
you'll know who they are.
Yeah, good. I'll shout that out and post that in chat as well. And then right after I posted that, I'm going to end the broadcast. So if you want to get your last words in, then this is the time before I kick you out of the studio.
Thanks for watching, everyone. It was a really good time talking to you guys, too. I had a really good time. Even though I was up at 5 a.m., it was totally worth it.
You did great for a first-time guest. Like many people don't manage to open up as much as you did.
Oh, thank you. It was
but
really fun.
You did also well, Tati. We all felt like we're
thanks.
not doing this for the first time. We're doing a podcast with friends already. Great.
Yeah, I got to try
hopefully.
Ruthless now. You've convinced me. If I have some free
Oh,
time,
that's
I'm
great.
going in. I'm going in.
Yeah, I love when more people join Ruthless. I always like seeing people in chats So I mean, a lot of people say they tried Ruthless and they really enjoyed it once they get like done with the trade lake. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. It was a blast to have you both on. All three of you, I guess. I can't exclude Balor always when I'm complimenting the people who attend the podcast. We're looking forward to the next episode, and there's going to be more episodes. I'll just try to announce them one at a time. But we have another one planned for the weekend afterwards. Maybe we get some guests for a spontaneous during the weekdays episode. But this will all be announced, as always, on my socials, in my Discord, and my Twitter. Follow those if you want to stay up to date. Just subscribe to the YouTube, because YouTube does inform you when there's upcoming streams, and I usually plan these like 24 hours ahead. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your time. Enjoy Tota, and if you don't enjoy Tota, then go and farm something profitable instead.
See ya, everyone.
Who's
Wait, I gotta